Welcome to the Lincoln City Council meeting of August 11th, 2025. Please be advised a copy of the Opens Meetings Act is posted at the back of the chambers by the northwest door. Let us all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a short moment of a silent meditation. Please remain standing if you are able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Stay up.
The order of business of the City Council is as follows. The clerk will call the items listed on the agenda. Under public hearing, anyone wishing to speak on an item must first register and sign in at the table located in the lobby. The council shall require any member of the public addressing the council to identify themselves, the name of any organization represented by such person, and their address, unless the address requirement is waived to protect the security of the individual. Each speaker should state whether they are speaking in favor or in opposition to the item. Testimony is limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Anyone wishing to speak on an agenda item shall come forward after the clerk reads that item and the applicant has presented. After public comments, the applicant may make one short rebuttal. After all public hearings, the council will vote on resolutions and items listed under third reading. On the second and last Monday of the month, immediately prior to adjournment, anyone may speak on any issue not on the agenda for that date, nor plan for a future agenda. We ask that all speakers strive for civility and allow the business of council to proceed unimpeded. Will the clerk please call the first item of business?
Our first item of business today for our City Council meeting of August 11th of 2025 is our consent agenda, sections 1, 2, and sections 3.
All right, do we have anyone from city to report on consent agenda items? Seeing none, is there any member of the public that would like to discuss the consent agenda items? Seeing none, we can go ahead and proceed. Oh, excuse me. Go ahead, Roy.
I was just curious, does this have to do with the special resolutions for the Capitol or the governor's mansion?
No, not at this time yet. That is on the agenda today, though. Yeah. All right. Any additional public comment? Madam Clerk, please move us forward.
We can now vote on these items. Item 1A is appointing Brooke M. to the Commission on Women and Gender for a partial term to expire November 23rd, 2025, introduced by Shob.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Beckius. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Bowers?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Shob?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 1B is reappointing Carlos Servan to the Star Tran Advisory Board for a term to expire August 15th of 2028, introduced by Shob.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Beckius. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bowers?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Shob?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 2A was introduced by Shob.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Washington. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shob?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. That concludes our consent agenda. We shall move on to section 4, which is public hearing liquor resolutions. I'll read item 4A, application of Governor Pillen Inaugural Committee for special designated licenses to cover an outdoor area measuring approximately 300 feet by 300 feet at 1425 H Street on September 20th and 24th, October 4th and 25th, and November 1st, 2025 from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Is the applicant here? If so, please come forward now. Seeing none, is there any members of the public that would like to comment on this? If so, please come forward now.
Good afternoon. Roy Helm. I identify with the pronouns of he and him. I reside at 2750 South 13th Street. And I do apologize for coming up a little earlier. Normally, I'm in great support of these requests for special events and waivers of city requirements, but in this instance, I am opposed to it. And I don't know if I'm being petty or particularly partisan, but I have walked by the governor's house from time to time when there have been events going on, and it just makes me a little irritated. And the irritation stems from, our public property being used for, festivities that the general public is not invited to, and it hurts. And so I am in opposition to this, and I anticipate that this will pass, and that's okay, because we can disagree, but I just felt compelled to state my objection to it. I mean, we're not allowed to even walk on the grass around the Capitol building, but yet across the street we can have a party. So it just sticks in my craw, and I thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to comment on this item?
Mr. Chair, seeing no one else coming forward, I'd like to make a motion for approval of item 4A.
Motion's been made.
I'll
Is there a
second.
second? A second by Duden. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Bowers,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. That concludes section 4 of our agenda. We shall move on to section 5, which is public hearing resolutions. I'll call item 5A, accepting and approving the report of new and pending claims against the city for July 16th through July 31st of 2025.
All right. Is there anyone that would like to address the city council on new and pending claims against the city for July 16th through July 31st? If so, please come forward. Seeing none, we can go ahead and proceed.
I'll call item 5B, approving a tax levy request from the Lincoln Airport Authority.
I'm sorry, Chair Carlson, my apologies. Ladies, did you want to speak on the previous item?
I was looking at the number, so.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm looking at the number on the resolution and the claims report. So is this item, were you asking for item 5A?
Correct. Yes.
You have some-
Okay, well, no problem. Please come forward. I'm glad you waved us down, so thank you, Councilman, too.
Thank you.
Oh,
You
welcome.
introduce yourself?
Yeah.
I'm Brooklyn Polanski. I live at 990 North 52nd Street in Lincoln. Let's see, I can't remember what date it was.
And I'm Sherry Polinsky,
This is my mom.
here with Brooklyn.
Moral support. In May, on May 24th, I had a city tree. I live on the Mopac Trail, right up against it, and a city tree had fallen over the fence, breaking the fence, and then falling onto my new deck that's only like 4 years old. And it's just a little frustrating. I've had 2 calls to the city forestry department to come look at the trees across the fence because some of them are definitely dead. I have limbs hanging over. And I was just worried about those trees. They did come over and they did take the tree out, but they said that I would have to submit a claim. I submitted the claim, and my claim was denied for the fixing of the deck and the fence. We fixed the fence without having to buy anything. We had extra material from when we put it up. We just recently got all the material for the deck to fix, and it's a little over $1,000. I did not submit a claim to insurance because my deductible is about $2,000. It is just a little frustrating. We did end up renting a cherry picker because I requested that they come out and look at the rest of the trees, which I don't think they ever did. They didn't notify me that they did. I don't know if they document all that stuff when you call in, but yeah, they never came over, so we ended up trimming the trees and taking some of the dead trees out. The cherry picker cost was $590. So my request is to reconsider.
Any questions?
Do you have pictures?
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't just a branch.
And that's the other thing. They did tell me, you know, the branches hanging over are my responsibility. I understand that. It was a whole tree that ended up like falling halfway down.
And for photos, we can actually put them right on that screen.
okay.
Right in
Oh,
front of
under
you.
the camera.
Honey.
Broadcast it up on the
Okay,
screen for everyone.
I'll let her explain.
Okay.
So this picture is from the other side of the Mopac Trail. Yes, from the other side of the Mopac Trail. You can't really see it very well, but it is fallen over.
Ms. Polinsky, when you say other, is it next to your property? Give us
It's-
some context, please.
It's over the fence, and then the Mopac Trail runs along that property. There's just like a line of forest, kind of.
Okay.
So this is from the Mopac Trail, basically.
Okay.
So
We're
are we-
looking back at your property.
Yes,
So we're able to see your fence in that photo just
a little
through,
bit.
Oh,
through the
boy.
very middle there.
Here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is where it fell through. You can see
Mhm.
that this is the tree that fell on the Mopac Trail side over the fence. And this is where it fell on the deck. And there's another picture. It ended up breaking about 2 of the joists and most of those composite wood decking material and the railing.
It was about 1 foot to 2 feet away from her kitchen where they were
Yeah,
cooking.
cooking.
So
We thought-
had the wind been a little bit different, we might have a different conversation today.
Yeah. It wasn't raining or storming that day either. It was nice clouds. I did have a police officer come out and write a case number and a report for it.
Councilwoman Washington.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Polinsky, a couple of questions. I might ask you to back
Yeah.
up and repeat some stuff. When you said you called the tree in, what date did you call the tree in when you first, I mean, not when it fell, but did you call the tree in ahead of time and ask them
So
to look?
I called it in the day it happened. It was Memorial Day weekend, I think, on a Saturday, May 24th.
This year?
But before, like.
Oh, I see what you mean. I called it in, I think in 2022 for them to come out and look. And again, I think in 2023 for them to come and look.
So you asked the city forester to come out in 2022 and 2023
Yeah.
to check on the tree.
And then after this happened, I asked them to come out again. I don't have the date of that. It was after the tree fell.
So it was in May of '24?
When this fell?
Yes.
No, it was May of 2025.
Oh, okay, just
Mhm.
now. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And what was the response from the city when they came out to, did they come out and take a look at this?
Yeah, so they did end up coming out. It was over Memorial Day weekend, so the police officers came out and looked at it, and then they had them come out, the forestry department, Ryan Merle, or I think it's Merle from the forestry department came out, and he responded. He ended up getting a date set up. It was too muddy at the time to clear the tree away, but he did end up getting a crew out there to clear the tree away. It was just he told me to submit a claim to see if we could get the funds to fix the deck and the fencing.
And when did you hire the cherry picker?
Oh, I have it. Um, 7/13/2025.
Thank you.
Councilman Beckius.
Thank you, Chair Carlson. Brooklyn, thank you for coming down and sharing your experience in those photos. I'm very sorry for the damage done to your fence and your deck. The city does keep track of these things, and so if it's okay with my fellow councilors, I would like to invite City Law up. Lily, if you're available, I'd love to have you come down. We're going to ask her a few questions about
Yeah.
the process. If you could just stay where you are, that'd be great. We just want to have a conversation with her really quickly.
Lily Ely, Assistant City Attorney, 555 South 10th.
Thank you for
Hi.
coming down. I appreciate it. Could you give us an overview as to what records show in regards to this property and the trees surrounding these property prior to the incident that we're addressing today?
I can, and I'm also going to have Director Stuckey Ross come as well, just to fill in any holes I might miss. This tree is going to be a little different than some of the ones we've discussed before, since it's a trail tree.
Okay.
So we have such a high number of trail trees that unless forestry has interacted with the tree in some way, it's not automatically in their beehive record keeping system. We have tens of thousands of trail trees, so they're not in the beehive record keeping system in the same way that some of the other city trees that we talk about may be. So for this specific tree, I did also speak with Ryan Merle, and it's his understanding he'd be the person who would be most responsible for kind of tracking those trees in any way that they would be tracked. To his knowledge, there was no prior notice on this tree. That's what
Okay.
he's told me. So.
Okay, so, and just so I'm understanding correctly, we may not necessarily have a record of an issue on a particular tree, but do we have a record of a phone call or some sort of outreach email, something along the lines that would indicate to us that that this party had contacted the city previously? Is that record kept in a fashion that can be
Sure. So I can't speak exactly for how every single phone call into Parks and Rec or Forestry may or may not be kept. Ryan Merle has indicated he has no records of any prior contact with this tree or requests on this tree.
Okay. Was there anything else you wanted Director Stuckey Ross to respond to?
No, I just
I don't
wanted
have
to
any-
give her the opportunity to correct if I was wrong on numbers.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
I don't have any further questions.
I have a question.
Councilman Duden first.
So I realize what you just said, but are you saying that he doesn't have records of it?
Yes. I'm saying Parks and Recreation. He's the person who would have those records. He does not have records.
And they don't have any record of her calling in previously?
Not to my awareness, not to his awareness.
Do they keep records of that?
I can't speak to whether or not specific phone calls are tracked in Parks and Recreation.
Okay.
There are no records that they have indicated exist regarding this tree.
Okay, well, my question is, do they have records of her phone call?
They have no records about a phone call or any other information on this tree.
Okay. I want to ask Maggie the same thing.
Councilwoman Washington.
I
Okay.
would like to ask Maggie, I think the question that Councilman Duden would like to ask Maggie, so I will wait my turn.
Director. Welcome.
Hi, Maggie Stuckey Ross, Director of Parks and Recreation, 3131 O Street.
Director Stuckey Ross, would you please explain the process for trail trees?
Yes, so once a year, our team is out lifting the canopy of our trail system in bulk, and it's typically before the trail trek events start in the spring. So it's less looking at individual trees, but it's the park operations team lifting the entire canopy for trail users.
When you say lifting the trail canopy, you mean cutting low branches out so that people on bikes don't get smacked in the face?
That's right, yes, lifting the canopy for trail users.
So if someone has called in and said that there's a trail tree, or there's a tree, because I didn't realize until this moment that trail trees were logged differently than street trees. So if someone calls in and says there's a tree that's owned by the city that is leaning over, and I think it should be checked, what happens to those calls?
Depending on what trail they are calling about, it would be handled by the district supervisor. Trail trees, park trees, and golf trees don't go through the beehive system that we typically are talking about when we talk about claims. So if that call came in, it likely was transferred over to the Northeast District, which would be the district in charge of this, and that staff handled it.
And do they ever keep records of calls? Do they have a system that just automatically logs in the calls that come in on trees in their system, whether they're golf, park, or trail?
It is my understanding there is no record of this particular call as it came in, a written record or a documented record. I don't believe they use any sort of documenting system.
Okay, and that's current now. So
That's correct.
They didn't use a documenting system before, and they still don't do documenting system for park, trail, or, golf
Golf.
trees.
My exception would be if they go out and inspect a tree and something needs to be done, then that tree is going into beehive, and that's how we're tracking work that needs to be done on the tree. But the inspection itself, no.
So the inspection, they don't log, but if they come back from an inspection and say, well, we should trim some trees
Yes.
or whatever,
Then that
goes into
tree
beehive.
will exist in beehive, yes.
It was,
Councilman Duden?
I just follow, so I guess what I want to understand is that we can't say that she didn't call.
I have no record of a call, right.
Councilman Beckius?
but to your point, Director Stuckey Ross, if there was a problem, Parks and Rec would have had a record of tending to the tree or removing the tree. So we can assume that because there was no record of work being done, that if the tree was inspected, it was found to have no problems.
Yes, if the tree needed work, a work order would have been created for that tree, which does not exist.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for Director?
I have a question.
Thank you.
So if we find that another tree on the trail looks to be dangerous to my daughter's home, and we call in, it doesn't sound like there's a record of the call, and it doesn't sound like we could be assured that anything would be done. What is the proper procedure that we would follow to ensure that this wouldn't happen again?
I think an email would probably be best, but let's have the director come up and ask her what the proper procedure would be here.
Yeah, so I would recommend using the uplink system, taking a photo and putting a geospatial pin at the tree that you're concerned about. That goes into the tracking system for all departments. It gets assigned to our department, and that record would exist in perpetuity in a physical form.
And how would we have known to do that? I guess I'm going back to the problem here, and we thought we were doing the right steps outside of taking the situation into our own hands, which we now have done, because we do feel like there were additional trees, and thank goodness we did it before this last storm. So I don't know that we would have known that proper procedure unless it's documented, that trail trees are different from other city trees, and a phone call wouldn't have been logged.
Councilman Bowers?
I just had a question. So you said that you did not report it to your homeowner's insurance because it wouldn't meet the deductible?
We've been working with them.
Yeah.
And they said, this really is a situation you need to take up with the city. If we need to file a claim, we can. But
They
she's
did say they would deny the claim
yeah.
because it's less than the deductible, so.
And not a tree that fell on her property
Yeah.
that she owned.
Who owns the property?
Well,
Well,
she
my
owns the
property.
property. I'm saying
The
it wasn't a
tree.
tree of her own that resides on the property that fell and did the damage. It was a city tree.
Oh, that's interesting because I feel like I've had like an opposite experience where if a tree, even if it was owned by a neighbor, if it fell on your property, then the homeowner's insurance, whose property it fell on, was responsible for it. That's been my experience. If I had a tree, it fell on a neighbor's house, the neighbor's homeowner's insurance is the one that took care of it. That's been my experience. So I'm kind of surprised that they're saying something different to you. But it sounds like the biggest reason why they denied it is because it didn't reach the threshold for the deductible anyways. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I'd like to make a motion, though.
Yeah, we aren't there yet, but okay. All right, any other questions? See none, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also do love the Parks Department and the Mopac Trail. I will say I love using it.
I'm sure that's good to hear.
Is there anyone else that would like to address council on pending claims? If so, please come forward now. Seeing none, we can go ahead and proceed.
Chair?
We'll wait till we vote in session.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'll call item 5B, approving a tax levy request from the Lincoln Airport Authority.
right, do we have someone to present here? All right, Mr. Hove, welcome.
Chris Hove, Lincoln Airport Authority Chairman of the Board, 2400 West Adams, Mr. Chairman, and council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I'll try to keep it 5 minutes. We have a couple other people here, so if we can take a few more, that we asked for that. I serve as the chairman of the Lincoln Airport Authority. Other people here, David Herring is the executive director, Rachel Barth is director of air service and marketing, and then presenting today will be Jerry Winkleman, director of administration and finance, and Chad Lay, director of planning and development. Last year, John Olson came before you and requested an increase in the levy, our levy for non-bonded capital improvements for operational activities and to attract airlines. We committed that we would use those funds for the betterment of the community. We would track how those funds are used, and we'd report back to you. Today, this is the process where we're reporting back to you, and we're requesting funds for next year as well. The non-bonded levy has been used to upgrade capital improvements in the air park area. We're working on bridges, we're working on roads, we're spending that money wisely. Jerry will provide more detail. And the fact is, we just had the announcement, you probably heard about Breeze Airlines. That would not have been occurred without this levy. So thank you for doing that. Let's see. That's all I have. I'm going to have Jerry and Chad come up and speak to you specifically about how we're going to spend the money this year.
Welcome. Oh, that I'm not sure.
The left side.
Tech experts down here. Drum roll.
Leaving some.
Here we go. It's magic.
Technology. Thank you for your time today. I'm going to start with just this brief snapshot of the situation in 25 and 26. As Mr. Hove said, funding for the tax-exempt bonds was just over $6.8 million in 2025, which allowed us to pay obligations that covered terminal renovations, the remodel and expansion of the snow removal and equipment building, new runways, and related taxiway work as we prepared for that funding to move forward. In 2026, by keeping that levy number very close to the previous year and anticipating about a 7% increase in property valuations, we believe that this funding will be appropriate to meet most of the needs of the Airport Authority.
Ms. Winkleman, would you mind moving the mic so
Not
it
at all.
actually comes down to your mouth? Thank
How
you.
about that?
I think
Oh, now
that's
we're better.
better.
Okay. All right. So in 2025, with the $3.742 million for non-bonded funding and operational funding, the authority was able to complete several major projects, with more in progress and scheduled to be completed yet this year. So we were able to demolish building 1138. We showed you pictures of that last year with the roof caving in. That was a big completion for us. We purchased an aircraft recovery piece of equipment to allow us to move aircraft should they go off the runway at any point in time, a regulator for runway 1432. We have terminal ramp repair that is starting here yet this week. And we finished the design work on that West Cumming Bridge. We also saw pictures of that last year. So the design work is done and we're ready to start that work here coming forward. We were able to order a police cruiser and a snow removal runway broom. And we were able to restrict $1.5 million. Thank you. For our airport's highest priority air service development. Sorry about that. I'm reading and not paying attention. So these are some of the additional projects from this current year's funding that we are scheduled to move forward with. Aviation road repair, Northwest 38th Street rehab, Northwest 36th Street, taxiway P repair, and we put one project on hold for now. That was a small rail repair situation. All right. So this is what we're looking forward to in 2026. With the operational levy revenue. And the largest of those is again for air service development, which remains our highest priority, as you know. We are exercising caution by placing guardrails that limit air carriers from accessing this funding too quickly. We were very intentional about finding a partner that was seeking a long-term relationship with Lincoln and the surrounding community. We believe we found that in Breeze Airways, and one that has a proven track record in the industry. So we're familiar with Breeze and we know how they're doing. And we also have some other things on the horizon that we're very excited about. So this $1.95 million that we're asking for here is to be put to good use. And Chad, I'm going to let you take over from here.
Yeah, quick rundown of some additional capital projects that we have planned for the tax levy dollars in this upcoming year. The first would be a needed basically reconstruction of our geographic information system, or GIS. GISs are fairly typical tools to be used by governmental entities. Lancaster County, City of Lincoln has one. It's a useful tool keeping track of infrastructure, utility data. We also use it for airspace studies and often in our collaboration with the city planning department when we're going through zoning reviews. We've had a situation where the vendor that was helping us with our existing GIS is no longer performing that duty, and so we've got to move forward with selection of a new vendor and kind of reconstructing that system. And so these dollars will be put to that use. And so just a one-time, after we get it reconstructed, the annual kind of operational fees will be incorporated into our annual normal budget. Yes, this is an interesting opportunity. We have previously requested some federal funds to help us expand and extend the shared use infrastructure in our general aviation area. There's basically new taxi lanes to allow new development to happen there, also some utility extension and some needed grading improvements and storm drainage improvements. But the funds being included here are simply the matching funds. So if we receive those federal funds, this will be easy local leverage of additional money to build that infrastructure. And then this is more of an emergency repair. Over the last year, we've had an unexpected erosion with a water crossing that runs under one of our service roads that helps us maintain both wildlife control and operational control of our airfield. And so these are dollars to repair that water crossing underneath that needed service road. And then amongst the last of the projects that we have here is a street project. Actually, in relation to some of the discourse that we had with the City Council last year, over the last year, the Airport Authority has undertaken a very systematic assessment of the pavement condition of all of our public roads. And out of that assessment, this was the lowest rated road from a paving rating standpoint that sees common usage in the industrial park. And as such, this is the first of the road projects that we're proposing to get constructed out of that new pavement assessment that we've done. And then lastly, this is a project that while we are underway with design work on the West Cumming Street Bridge, the construction work itself was actually deferred from last year's request. That was to enable the Breeze Airways minimum revenue guarantee that both Mr. Hove and Ms. Winkleman previously discussed. And as a result of those funds being rerouted to that, we've deferred the construction to this upcoming year. Still feel that with design underway, we could get that started in the spring of next year.
That's it.
And that's all we really have. So any questions?
Questions?
Just for clarification, Thank you. Ms. Winkleman, on the first set of slides where you were telling us about the good work that you had done in the past, I didn't quite understand what the numbers were on either side of the slash. Was that a budgeted amount and how much it actually cost, or was it the opposite?
No, that's exactly correct. So the number that appeared on, the first number that appeared was the budgeted number. The second number that appeared was actual.
So some things came in under budget?
Yes.
Okay.
That demolition, specifically those numbers that might have jumped out, we had budgeted 200,000 and the actual number came in under 100,000.
I did notice that one.
Yeah.
All right, thank
We
you.
were excited about that.
Other questions? No. I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we can go ahead and move forward.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to testify?
Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this issue? If so, please come forward now. Seeing none, we can go ahead and proceed.
I'll call item 5C, approving the Downtown Lincoln Association's 2025-2026 Maintenance and Management BID Budget and Program of Work.
Hello, councilors.
Hello.
Todd Ogden, President and CEO of Downtown Lincoln Association, 206 South 13th Street, Suite 101. I'm here again for another year. We're ready for our next year, and you've all gotten the packets for our proposed budget. We're really excited about this one as we are venturing off into some old territory where we used to have, I know Councilor Duden would be aware of this, especially our up-downtowners. We're bringing the heart of that back. As you know, our business improvement district is funded through special assessments, but we don't have an individual member organization per se like we used to with up-downtowners. So this is the year, after planning for about 2 years, we're going to bring back an opportunity for new residents, new employees, old residents, old employees, anybody that wants to get involved with helping support downtown to be involved through our Downtown Lincoln Coalition, which will be part of our parent board through the Downtown Lincoln Association. So our budget does reflect some of the earmarks in there that would talk about going into that group, which is essentially taking what we already had in our event budget in previous years and showing very specifically what's going toward that coalition to help with events. So for example, currently we produce, support, and sponsor about 200 events a year, 200 days worth of events a year in downtown. And our goal is to get that up to 300. I'd love 365. Let's go for that. Let's go for 366 every 4 years and 365 after that. Our goal for downtown is we have a lot of new public space, and we really want to help that public space be as enhanced as possible as we move forward and have that activated so the community knows whenever they're downtown, they know something's going to be going on. So we're really excited about trying to continue that activation, and we're getting that through the energy of especially a lot of new employees that are coming downtown and want to be a part of the community, and this will enable to do so. So that's kind of one of the major things I wanted to pinpoint. A lot of the rest of the budget is very similar line items. Our maintenance budget continues to try to keep up with wages as well. Our crews worked really, really hard this year. I'm really proud of our maintenance crew, and we want to continue to try to keep and grow that crew as much as possible. And the same goes for all staff. So that's really important, and make sure we continue to have the same amount, if not more activity through the year. So that is roughly how the budget is. If there's any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer them. If not.
Any questions?
I got one question. How much has the population increased in just the downtown?
Yeah, so in 2010, we had roughly 3,000 residents in downtown Lincoln. And with current and projected kind of built housing that's coming through, we're looking to get closer to about 14,000 residents. So there's a lot and a huge difference. Again, another reason for the coalition. So we have a downtown residential council that any resident that wants to, especially if they're newer, want to get involved with the community, they'll have that capacity to do so. So that certainly is changing the landscape of downtown from an 8 to 5 to a 24/7 downtown. And we have to keep up to make sure we're adhering to all their needs as well.
Any other questions? No.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Great, thank you.
Is there any member of the public who'd like to comment on this? If so, please come forward now. Seeing none, we can go ahead and proceed.
I'll call item 5D, approving the grant award between the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services, Public Health Tobacco Free Nebraska, and the City of Lincoln on behalf of Lincoln Lancaster County Health Department in the amount of $588,750 to help people quit tobacco, eliminate exposure to secondhand smoke and aerosol, protect our youth by keeping them from using tobacco, including e-cigarettes, and identifying and eliminate health disparities related to commercial tobacco product use from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th of 2027.
Good afternoon, council members. Carrie Kernan, Health Director with the Lincoln Lancaster County Health Department, 3131 O Street. This contract with the Health Department through the Tobacco Free Nebraska through the Department of Health and Human Services is a renewal grant. We have a little bit of a decreased funding, but the strategies will stay the same. Again, preventing youth tobacco initiation, eliminating exposure to secondhand smoke. We work with a lot of landlords as far as policies that they can develop and implement. Promoting quitting among adults and youth, and a lot of that is around supporting the Nebraska Quit Line and just raising the awareness of that resource, and then reaching underserved populations and advancing health equity. I just want to share a couple of data points. Youth tobacco use continues to be a concern. The tobacco use survey that was last done in 2023, which we do every 2 years, shows a decline in youth e-cigarette use, but 10% of high school students still report vaping. And the second data source to share is the county has currently 272 tobacco retailers with a density of 8.7 retailers per 10,000 people. 33% of these retailers are located within 1,000 feet of schools or parks, increasing youth exposure to tobacco products. So we still have some work to do despite our declines in percentages. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Director? I don't think so. Appreciate it. Thank you. Any members of the public like to comment on this issue? Please come forward now. Seeing none, we can proceed.
I'll call item 5E, appeal by Troy Bird of Planning Commission approval of special permit 1423M to amend the existing special permit for Highmark Estates Community Unit Plan to add 9 lots on property generally located at South 89th Street in Highmark Lane.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm Troy Bird, an attorney for Camplin Bird Legal Group at 330 South 10th Street, Suite 200, and I'm here to represent the Highmark Estates Townhome Homeowners Association. I do want to acknowledge that several of the members of the HOA are here with us today. And this appeal stems from the special permit that was conditionally approved back on July 9th. And it does address some of the issues, and for some context, I'll let you know. This has to do with the relocation of some of the holes on the Newmark Golf Course, or the Highmark Golf Course. And with that relocation of the holes, there have already been some concerns and some problems with watershed and with how the water and the runoff have affected the homeowners and the properties that are downhill. And so the basis of the appeal, as well as for the introduction of the different I don't want to call it resistance issues, but concerns that were raised at the commission planning hearing were to address those water issues. And there were some positive steps taken, as you'll see as part of the resolution under number 5. And this is resolution PC 01948. It does say that prior to the approval of the final plat, the premises shall submit a grading certificate to Lincoln Transportation and Utilities Watershed Management from permittees, licensed surveyor, or engineer certifying that grading is completed in conformance with the approved grading plan. And that is a great start, but it falls a little bit short. And the reason why I say that is because these townhomes, particularly these 4 lots that run across South 89th Street, are expected to have basements. And so there will be, after the issuance of the grading certificate, a lot of dirt that's moved, that's pulled out to dig those basements and to pour those deeper foundations. And the concern that the homeowners have and the homeowners association has is that that dirt will then change the grading that's already been certified. And that's their concern. Now, I will give credit where credit is due, and the developers along with their engineer, have worked with the homeowners association very well, and all of the items under appeal except for one we've come to an agreement on. And so the only issue that we're really discussing today, or that I'm asking for as part of my appeal, is item 5A that was in the council package. And that would be to add a condition to the resolution that says that prior to the approval or the issuance of the occupancy permit by the Building and Safety Department for only those 4 lots to be developed along Highmark Lane, the permittee or the home builder shall submit a certificate to watershed management from a licensed surveyor or engineer certifying that the grading is completed in conformance with the approved grading plan. And that is just to help protect those homeowners so that they know and they can be assured that the grading hasn't changed after we've gotten through the building process. Tim Zach was out, and in the minutes of the July 9th meeting, he made some comments that have to do with this, and he noted that watershed management can coordinate with the Building and Safety Department to request notice when home construction begins and to verify that final grading continues to meet the approved grading and the drainage plan. Mr. Zach also went on further to say an additional condition requiring a grading check at the building permit stage could be added. We just want to take it one step further and make it before the occupancy permit is issued so that everybody knows and everybody is assured that the grading is what everybody has been promised it's going to be and that it is in conformance with the overall plan. And so it would be a shame to have come this far and then to fall a few feet short of the finish line. And so we are asking that the City Council assist with our appeal, and I am making a request for a motion to approve the proposed amendment number 5A as I've discussed and add it as a condition for the resolution PC 01948. Thank you.
Questions, Council? Councilman Duden.
Of the 4 lots, are those walkout basement lots?
I don't know, short answer. The engineer may be able to address that question better than I can. I'll leave it at I don't know.
Can you step up? You have the engineer here?
The
Yeah, it'd be from the
developer's
other
engineer
side.
is present.
Other questions?
I have one other question. Thank you, Council Chair. Mr. Byrd, I just want to be super clear. The reason for your appeal was primarily around drainage.
Correct.
Watershed issues. And you said that every other point was addressed already prior to coming here. And I thought that I read in the report that we were given that there would be an agreement for the grading to be certified.
In the resolution, there is a requirement that it be certified prior to obtaining the final plating
Okay.
and approving the final plat. What we are asking for as an amendment is to add an additional condition, essentially, that says that prior to obtaining the occupancy permit, the builder or the permittee would just need to have a licensed surveyor or engineer certify that that grading is still the same and in conformance with that certification.
So it wouldn't be the developer of the whole project. It would be an individual builder who won the right to build that house.
Correct. The builder that would be the one excavating that basement, and we would want them to ensure that everything has been put back as it should be in order to protect the drainage.
Okay. And had you had that conversation with the developer?
We've had a little bit of negotiation on it. That was the one point that we were not able to come to an agreement to. But the other items that were in the council package, we have been able to come to an agreement on.
Okay. And there are no other issues, no traffic issues or anything else that you wanted to bring forward in your appeal?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Then I think my only other questions will be for the developer.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Or the engineer representing the developer.
Yeah, welcome, Mr. Green.
Good afternoon, Tim Gergen, civil engineer with Clark and Anderson, representing the developer Newmark LLC, the owners of Highmark Golf Course. To answer your question, the proposed lots will not be walkout. We call them in the engineering world reverse grade, so meaning they'll slope from rear the lots to the front. So that's the grading of the plans. We did work out the items with Tim Zock with Watershed Management. We have a grading and drainage plan that was submitted as part of our approval through Planning Commission. We worked diligently with Watershed all throughout the course of the Planning Commission hearing and gained approval. We will, right now, that area that the lots are in development do drain a little bit towards the townhomes. And what we are doing is we're taking all of the lots, the proposed lots, and draining them away from the townhomes. So we're guaranteeing we're not making the matters worse to the townhomes. We're not going to improve it a little bit as well, but there are drainage issues, but that's on the townhome property itself. We're not going to propose to contribute worse or try to make it a little bit better. The one item that Mr. Byrd did try to help add into our resolution is something that is already dictated by the City of Lincoln today. So we didn't want to agree to something that is already being, I guess, maintained and looked at by the City of Lincoln. So right now we are certifying the mass grading that the lots are developed and graded per the plan that was agreed upon on the Planning Commission by Tim Zogg. Now when the home builders then purchase the lot or someone purchases a lot they build the home on, they absolutely could change the lot. They shouldn't. And if there is any changes, then the townhomes have that ability to make that call to Watershed Management and say, hey, they have made those changes. Not to say that that change can't happen anytime during the course of the lot. So what Mr. Byrd is saying is we would certify it twice, one at mass grading, which is what we're agreeing to and what is required by the development. Two is when the homes are built. But we all know that homes always evolve. Someone's always doing new landscaping, always adding fencing, always adding some items, and those landscape contractors always could change the grades. And also when it happens to our certification, it really becomes null and void the day we certify it. And then after that, it becomes a whole nother recertification process. So we just don't know when our recertification would ever stop or end. We're proposing we create the baseline at the mass grading. We submit that to Watershed Management. They now have a plan that they can always reference back to. If any of the homeowners have changed the grades, they can go make the complaint to Watershed Management. They can take our baseline plan and say, yes, homeowner, you have changed. This is you're in neglect, not the developer, but the homeowner. And that is really what the correct term to do within the development process.
So once the developer has sold the lot, Mr. Gergen, the builder takes the responsibility of making certain that the grade is maintained.
That's correct.
Or after construction, they bring it back to the grade that was set by you.
That's correct.
And once the builder is left and the homeowner decides to put in a waterfall, I'm joking, I don't know what the homeowner is going to do, but they want to re-landscape their yard. They've changed the drainage pattern.
Right.
They haven't signed on to say that they are going to keep the drainage in the same way.
They haven't, but there is a development plan that says that homeowner, you have to keep the same drainage patterns. And so if they do change the patterns, then they are liable to make those changes and those repairs to go back to what is on. Just like any other development, just like any other lot in Lincoln, Nebraska, that's how it's been done.
Yeah. I feel like we've been here before, and I understand.
Councilman Beckius.
No, I just wanted to reiterate that's my understanding too, and we will talk with David Carey or if Liz Elliott's here to talk about this issue. But that's my understanding as well, in that whether it's the builder, homeowner, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, that if the grading plan, or the drainage plan, I should say, has been altered in a substantial form from the original plan, and it's problematic and or discovered or what have you, that it is the current owner's job to put it back into compliance. But I want to get that on the record to make sure. So
Correct.
thank you, Mr. Gergen. Appreciate it.
Any other questions for Mr. Gurian? Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess the question is Liz Elliott or the,
Is Director Elliott available, or Director Carey?
I see Director Carey
Director
standing
Carey.
back there.
Please come forward.
David Carey, Director of the Planning Department, 555 South 10th Street.
Director Carey, I know this isn't exactly your department, but I appreciate you coming up here nonetheless. Is it a fair assessment to state that, or a fair statement to state that when a drainage plan is approved by the City of Lincoln for development, that drainage plan should substantially remain throughout the life of that development, and should a homeowner have a problem, or anyone have a problem or suspect that drainage plan is no longer in substantial conformance to the drainage plan, that watershed management would investigate that and could, if need be, make requests and or declarations that this has to be put back into compliance with the originally approved drainage plan.
Yes, that's exactly
Sorry, that
right.
was really long. I apologize.
Excuse me. Yeah, so that original drainage plan is on file, and so that does govern basically kind of any substantial regrading that might happen as developments happen or redevelopments happen. And as long as that's still the original overall grading plan, it does provide information about what should or should not happen on any particular lot.
So if I'm a homeowner, development's going on next door to me, I think there's a problem, I can call watershed management and say, hey, I don't think this is in conformance anymore, can you come check it out?
Correct, that's right.
Okay, thank you.
I really appreciate you taking the line on that. I just remember another development in another part of town where we have dealt with this for a couple of years.
Any other questions for Director? Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this? If so, please come forward. Please come forward. Welcome.
Welcome. Hi, my name is Jerry Elfreen, and I'm president of the Highmark Estates Townhomes Association. And I'd like to share an experience with you. Approximately a little over a year ago, on July 4th, we had about 4 inches of rain, and there was 2 homes that were being built on the east side of our association property, not by Newmark, but by one of the family members, and on Bunker Court, 8810 and 8807. 8810, the house was built, the grading was done. July 4th, we got a mudslide in the back of one of our residents. We called Tim Zach, watershed manager, came out. He says, you need to put a berm in, Harry told the contractor. So he did put a berm in. 8807 Bunker Court was also completed about a year before 8810 was. And in that process, we did not have any problems, but somehow we ended up with a problem here last November again after about 2 days of rain, and water came down and got into one of our residents again. And I called Watershed and I told Tim about it. Tim come out and looked at it and said, looks good to me. I said, well, it's not. I said, here's what happened. So he said, well, there's nothing I can do. He says, the building permit has been closed. It's a civil issue. So we began to, this spring, we had to hire a civil engineer, come out and do a water study, did a water test, and proved that the water was coming over in our property. We worked with the homeowner, and thankfully the homeowner stepped up and took care of the problem. In the meantime, as you were talking, a lot of things changed. They put a pool in their backyard. They didn't want water and any soil to drain into the pool, so what they do, they spread it out and messed up the draining issue. So, you know, we feel it's important that this condition be amended to the plan. We went to a lot of work to develop how these lots should flow, and we don't want to see that messed up. And I can tell you, a builder, he doesn't care. Once that house is built, landscaping is not his problem. And now I'm afraid this is going to happen. So, I appreciate if you take that under consideration. And David Curry is right. I agree with him, but it doesn't always work that way. And your watershed department is understaffed. They do not have surveyors that come out there and take a survey. So there's, eyeballing it doesn't get it done. So I appreciate you looking at this one more time. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other members of the public who'd like to comment on this issue? If so, please come forward now. Seeing none, we can go ahead and proceed.
I'll call item 5F, special permit 25029, application of St. Matthew's Church to allow an early childhood care facility for up to 85 children with associated waivers on the property generally located at 2325 South 24th Street.
Good afternoon. I'm John Badami, reside at 5909 Norman Road. I'm also an architect with Cadre Architecture and Design and am junior warden for St. Matthew's Church. So a little history of St. Matthew's. There we go. So the original church, which is located right here, was built in 1925. So our church is celebrating its 100-year anniversary this year, which is pretty amazing. So throughout the course of time, the church has gone through some additions over time. This addition here, Fellowship Hall, was done in the 1930s, along with the chapel. And then in the 1950s, this area that you see here is a classroom wing addition. And in fact, at that time, etched right into the stone is St. Matthew's Church School. So that was always the intent of this addition. Now, for many years it hasn't operated as a school, but it's been a wish of the parishioners to better utilize the building and see if we can't find better need. So the church about 2 years ago went through a major renovation, upgraded all of our life safety codes. We talked to several folks with Health and Human Services, looked at the code requirements, if this was early childhood development and or school, and we're sure made sure that we integrated those items into our renovation. So everything is teed up. And during this time, we were working with Greenleaf Properties to find a suitable user that we could have a lease agreement with there. And Blue Stem was very interested in the church. We came in front of the city for a special permit at that time. They had a need for 25 students. And it was passed, and we thought everything was going to go through as planned. However, they found a different location and backed out. So since that time, we've been looking for a new tenant. Greenleaf has found several potential tenants that are interested in this location. However, they do have some questions. Number one is the city going to be okay with a waiver of parking? Again, we've been here for 100 years, and we've never had any off-street parking for the church. And also, would it be okay with a certain number of students? Because they want to plan, if they're going to locate here, can they expand to a certain number? So that's why our ask for a maximum of 85 students at this location with 10 staff members to support it is our ask. And I think once that's determined, then the users will be able to come forward and have some assurance that they can grow into this space. So before we permitted with planning, we had a open house for the neighborhood, invited them in. Congresswoman Washington was there, Councilwoman Washington was gracious enough to spend her Sunday afternoon with us. And we invited neighbors in to see if they had any questions, and obviously take care of any concerns at that time. The turnout wasn't as great as we wanted, but we did have a few questions, and seeing as there was no major issues from those that did show up, we decided to move forward with our permit. So really what we're asking is, again, a maximum of 85 students with 10 staff and a waiver of the parking. Currently off of Park Avenue, there is a signed designated loaning area that's been there for quite some time. So we're just asking for your permission to continue to use this part of our building as what it was originally intended. I welcome any questions.
Any questions? Oh, Tom Beckius.
Thank you, Chair Carlson. John, thank you very much. So it is the intent to continue to utilize the Park Avenue entrance that you show to us for folks coming and going from the daycare?
Yes,
Drop off?
That would be our intent.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Other questions? Councilwoman Washington.
Hi, I'm so glad you came down today. Mr. Badami, would you mind, I remember the earlier special use permit that you came forward with Blue Stem. Would you mind telling us what you were granted at that time? I know you said 25 children, but I know we had the conversation about parking, about traffic and things like that.
Yeah.
Previously, we had said yes to the loading zone, the drop-off pickup zone area. What other things were part of that special permit?
It was really just the maximum number of students and the waiver of parking.
Waiver of parking. So you've received a waiver of parking prior?
We did.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there members of the public that would like to comment on this? If so, please come forward now. Seeing none, we can go ahead and proceed.
I'll call item 5G, approving the service agreement between the City of Lincoln on behalf of the Lincoln Lancaster County Health Department and Animal Control Division and the Capital Humane Society to provide animal shelter and related services for a 4-year term with the option to renew for one additional 4-year term.
All right.
Good
Welcome.
afternoon, councilors. I'm Rick Hoppy, Mayor's Office, 555 South 10th Street. And with me is the Executive Director of the Capital Humane Society. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hello, councilors. I'm Matt Madchero, Executive Director for Capital Humane Society, 2320 Park Boulevard.
We're here today to talk about the sheltering contract between the city and the Capital Humane Society. The proposal before you is following the same format of previous proposals. It's a 4-year contract with a 4-year renewal. And the services that you're being asked to consider are basically the same services from the past. The boarding, the feeding, the vet care, including a health assessment, and a disposition of the animals in the CHS care. And when I say disposition, I mean the vast majority of time, it's pets being reunited with their owners or adopted into a new family. It's important to also understand the animals this contract actually covers. They fall into 2 categories. One category is those animals brought to the shelter by the animal control, there you go, thank you, counselor, by the animal control officers associated with the health department, and those animals brought to the shelter by the public. If you're a good Samaritan, you find a lost dog, you take it over to the shelter, that falls under our contract. Animals that do not fall under our contract, and that's an important part of this discussion because Capital Humane Society takes far more animals than just the city contract, are those animals, for instance, that are relinquished by their owners. Sometimes you have a situation where someone elderly can no longer care for an animal like a cat, and they bring them to the Capital Humane Society. That is other revenues they use to manage that situation. One of the key things about this contract and about the services that the Capital Humane Society provides is the length of time these animals remain in the care of CHS. Under our code, we have to maintain or keep those animals in our possession, the city's possession, for 3 days or 72 hours. But in actuality, the animals we bring to their door are there an average of 15.3 days. And the Capital Humane Society and its board are asking us to consider the ramifications of not funding those additional 12 days to run a good adoption program and ensure live outcomes for the pets. Those 12 days are critical to doing that. And if we don't fund those, we're putting the CHS in a difficult position. The other issue is the number of animals we're bringing to the facility. Capital Humane Society has about 5,800 animals a year run through their doors. About 2,900 of those are associated with the City of Lincoln contract, about half. Yet as late as 23-24 budget year, we were only paying for about 20% of the revenue to run the Capital Humane Society. So it had gotten a little bit of a gap, more than a little bit of a gap, a fairly significant gap between the revenue we were providing and the number of animals that are coming to their door. And it's because of these two factors that we're asking for a fairly significant increase in what we've been paying in the past. I think council is aware in the 23-24 budget year, we paid about $572,000. In the current one-year situation we're in, we paid $1.43 million. And in the first year of the contract in front of you, it'll be $1.25 million. Those increases reflect the two factors that I was talking to you about. Our effort to ensure good outcomes for the pets by ensuring those 15 days are adequately covered by city revenue, and that the amount we're contributing to the Capital Humane Society is reflective of the number of animals we're bringing to their door. At this point, I'll turn it over to Matt.
All right. Well, I'm going to sound a little redundant, but thank you, Rick. But so I want to share some information about this contract and some data points. But from June of 2024 through May of 2025, Capital Humane Society took in 5,809 pets. Of those, 2,894 were through the contract that we have with the City of Lincoln to provide the animal shelter services for the city. That included 1,895 pets that came to the shelter via an animal control officer, and 999 pets that were found by Good Samaritans and then brought to the shelter by those citizens. So again, this represents about 50% of what CHS's annual intake is. But again, those 2,894 pets, as Rick stated, does not include pets that are directly relinquished to Capital Humane Society by their owners. So then in 2024, our total budget, excluding depreciation, was $4.74 million, and Capital Humane Society was paid just over $843,000 by the City of Lincoln. The previous contract that ended August 31st of last year, CHS was paid, as Rick said, about $571,000, when our expenses to serve that contract were $1.43 million. And that current one-year contract that we are in right now that was signed in September of last year is for $1.43 million. Our current expenses to serve the contract are close to $1.5 million, so this new contract will help close that gap from $571,000 to $1.5 million through the compensation paid to CHS by the city. And again, as Rick stated, the new contract would pay CHS $1.25 million in the first year, $1.35 million in the second year, $1.475 million in the third year, and $1.65 million in the fourth year. So CHS is prepared to cover that deficit during years 1 through 3 through our fundraising and operations revenue, but our goal is to at least break even on this contract by the end of the 4-year term of the initial part of this contract. And so we believe that by year 4, we will be breaking even versus the expenses versus the compensation. Also, the contract does have the mutual option for the city and Capital Humane Society to renew for an additional 4-year term. The first year of that contract would pay $1.75 million to Capital Humane Society, and then the additional 3 years would be the adjustment would be either 3% or the change in the city living wage ordinance, the percentage change there, whichever is greater. So we believe that with that structure, the compensation will keep pace with what the expenses are into the future, so that we don't end up in a situation like we have been where the costs are significantly more than the compensation. So some primary reasons for the significant difference in how we got here, but first off, a portion of the expenses for the Piola Pet Adoption Center, which was opened in July of 2013, were excluded from the previous contract that was bid in 2016. Some of those expenses should have been included in that previous contract based off of the specifications that were being requested from the city as part of this contract. Also, as we all know, expenses for things like utilities, animal care expenses, veterinary supplies have increased significantly since 2020. And then also labor costs have significantly increased, especially for veterinary professionals. And CHS also has to abide by the city living wage ordinance, being a contractor with the city, and the city living wage has increased by 28% since 2020, when CHS's contract annual increase was capped at 2.5%. And then finally, as Rick pointed out, CHS provides more live outcomes now for pets than ever before. Live outcomes ultimately cost more money due to the length of stay for pets. Pets are at the shelter longer until that outcome is achieved. And so that increases the daily care costs and also increases the veterinary expenses to prepare animals for adoption or other placement. So turn it back over to you.
Okay, of course, I'm technologically not very advanced. I put this under the lamp. What else am I supposed to do? There we go. The back is taking care of me. This illustrates a little bit about what Matt was talking about. You see here, I'm hoping you might be able to zoom in here just a little bit. Let's see if I can make that work. Oh, yeah. All right. This is the compensation, and it's laid out before you. And I wanted to also talk a little bit about how we're managing this compensation. You see the first 2 years he mentioned, and I do want to point out that the third year is something to pay attention to. It is for $1.475 million, which is actually the first time the contract exceeds the amount we're paying right now. And I think we need to recognize that resulted from the negotiation, some willingness to work together with the subsidy that Matt was talking about. They were willing to give us some time to stair step into that kind of 50% revenue role. And so this contract for the first couple of years, 3 years, does not approach that 50% mark. You'll note on here in purple is our attempt to explain a little bit about how we intend to pay for this increase. And one of the factors that will happen administratively is we will add $10 to every pet license in order to generate some dollars to go to this contract. You can see that generates about $520,000 is our best estimate there. Now keep in mind there's 62,000 licenses, and I recognize that doesn't add up cleanly there. There are a couple other factors in that amount that lead us to believe our target number will be closer to $500,000. As you can see, when you add that amount to the $572,000 we were previously paying, that gets us close to $1.1 million. And then back on the blue section, that gives you an idea of the additional general fund dollars needed to fund the remaining amount between what we've been paying, the increase from the pet license fees, and what we need to finish out the contract. So I hope that gives you a little bit stronger picture of what's happening here. I wanted to talk for just a minute about oversight and what we have done in this contract to strengthen oversight of the CHS provision of services. First of all, we added some information metrics to the contract that will need to be provided by the Capital Humane Society each year. We're hopeful this data allows us to have an even stronger picture of their success and what we're doing to fund that. So we asked about items like dogs and cats brought to the shelter, how long they're staying there in various increments, and the level of care needed for each of those animals. So I understand that Councilor Bowers is going to introduce an amendment that will provide some additional information along that ilk. We also have the ability to request an audit, and I believe, Matt, you provided a copy of the last audit they had completed to the council as part of an exchange between you all. We think those additional oversight pieces are helpful in all of us doing our due diligence on these type of things. And speaking of due diligence, I did want to compliment the council itself. There on June 24th, you sent a letter to Matt and the Capital Humane Society asking for additional information to help clarify numbers, to get more deeply into the budget, the city's revenues as a part of that budget, the staff, the cost, what percentage of their time they're spending on contracts. And we got back in early July a very detailed response that I think was very helpful in helping us understand what the need was and what was being asked of us So I think that was an important consideration as we think more about this. Well, Matt, let's just make sure I've gotten everything out I'm supposed to be getting out here before I turn it back to you. Okay, go ahead, Matt.
Okay. So as Rick mentioned, you guys sent a letter to us in late June, and we provided that response in early July, and provided you with our 2024 auditor's report and financial statements from HBE. We have an annual audit conducted, independent audit every single year by HBE, and so provided that, but wanted to kind of quickly go over what Capital Humane Society is and how we identify ourselves at this point. And so we identify ourselves as a socially conscious animal shelter. So these are the responsibilities of a socially conscious animal shelter. So first off, ensuring that every unwanted and homeless pet has a safe place to go for shelter and care. Placing every healthy and safe animal. I want to point out the key word there being safe. We do not want to put animals back out in the community that are going to inflict harm or injury to other pets, to children, to people. So keeping that in mind and keeping public safety at the forefront of some of our decisions. Assessing the medical and behavior needs of homeless pets and ensuring those needs are thoughtfully addressed. Alleviating suffering and making appropriate euthanasia decisions. Again, when we're talking about putting animals back in the community that are safe to put back out there, some animals are not safe to put back out there, and ultimately the outcome is euthanasia for those pets. Same thing with animals with extreme medical injuries or illness. In some cases, the most humane outcome for that pet from a medical standpoint is humane euthanasia, and so we are not going to let an animal suffer unnecessarily just to hopefully have a live outcome, which is unlikely in some situations like that. Also then aligning policy with the needs of the community, enhancing the human-animal bond through thoughtful placements and post-adoption support, and then considering the health and wellness of each animal in each community when transferring animals between communities, and then implementing inclusive policies and practices, and finally fostering a culture of transparency, ethical decision-making, mutual respect, and continual learning and collaboration. So through this model, we work to make responsible and safe placement decisions of those 5,800 plus animals that come to the shelter each year. So through that, so far this year to date, CHS's placement rate is just over 90%. The placement rate, how that is calculated is it's the percentage of pets that are placed into a new home through the adoption program, reunited with their owners, or transferred to another animal welfare agency, a reputable animal welfare agency for placement. Then divide that by total outcomes. So all of those outcomes again, plus animals that are humanely euthanized or pass away in our care. And so again, being at just over 90% this year, to give you some reference points, I'll go back a little ways, about 15 years. So 2010 was before the Pieloch Pet Adoption Center opened. The placement rate for animals coming to CHS was 41%, so about 50% less than it is today. In 2012, that was the last full year before the adoption center opened, it was 54%. Then in 2016, which is when this previous contract was bid, it was 69%. So immediately you see that just from opening the adoption center, there was an immediate impact. Then in 2019, it was 72%. And then in 2020, when this contract was mutually renewed, it was 81%. Last year was 87%, and so far year to date is just over 90%. So there's been a lot of change to motivate all of that, but ultimately what that comes out to based off of current intake numbers is approximately 1,000 more animals that are coming through the city contract are leaving with a live outcome that otherwise would not have back in 2012 before the adoption center opened its doors. So the adoption center is a critical component to what we're able to do and place animals and have live outcomes for them. And so it's a critical component of this contract and ultimately the compensation related to this contract. Really, the previous contract in a way was looked at more of as a boarding agreement or a boarding contract to board animals for 72 hours for the city. As Rick mentioned, that is city ordinance for lost and stray and impounded animals. But actually what this contract is and what the actual name of the contract is Animal Shelter Services. So what it is It is to operate and run an all-encompassing animal shelter on behalf of the city of Lincoln. And so that is what we do. But that includes adoption and other placement programs. And as Rick mentioned, that results in an average length of stay for pets that are coming through this contract of 15 days. I want to point out that CHS is not including any of our expenses related to our Stransky Veterinary Center, our Positive Impact Project program, fundraising efforts, the care and placement of owner-surrendered animals, animals from outside the city limits, or capital expenditures in this contract and our request for compensation. But CHS has a very long track record of serving this contract for many, many decades. We feel that we do a very good job of that. We feel we've made significant strides to improve the outcomes for pets in this community. And we look forward to continuing to serve this contract and serve the community. And so appreciate all of your guys' time and questions and back and forth and all of that. But turn it back over to you.
I'd like to conclude with one final thought for you all. I assume from the dais at some point someone's going to say, Rick, this is pretty darn expensive. And I guess I would return that with expensive compared to what? And I actually have an answer to that. During the year of this time, we've had the 1-year agreement. The health department did some fantastic work at investigating other options. And one of those options was, what would it cost to stand up and run a shelter by the city so that we could provide that service instead of the Capital Humane Society? And the estimate for just acquiring the building and retrofitting it to be able to handle the number and volume of animals received by the Capital Humane Society was $2.6 million. Okay, $2.6 million in capital costs. Then on top of that, it would cost $1 million to $1.1 million to operate the facility annually. Now, when you start thinking about that with the first year of our contract, the second year contract, that's a pretty narrow gap of dollars. In short, it would be difficult to argue that with the tremendous level of success that the Capital Humane Society has enjoyed in live outcomes for the animals of this community, when in consideration of all the educational programs that allow successful adoptions to take place and for them to last over time and not have animals returned to them, it seems to me that these two numbers are pretty close and that you'd want to err on the side of the success that we've enjoyed with the partnership of the Capital Humane Society going forward, which is why we're before you today to ask you to move forward on this contract. Thank you. And I would only add that Carrie Kernan, our health director, is here to answer any questions. And I want to tell you all how much I appreciate her and her staff and the hard work they've done on this.
Great. Council questions for the presenters at all? Oh, I'm sorry. Councilman Duden.
Thanks, Chair. Matt, on your website, there's a banner there that says, due to current shelter capacity, we are not accepting surrenders for any dogs, cats, or critters unless it is an urgent emergency. And to please call a phone number there to be placed on a waiting list and receive rehoming information. How long has that banner been on there and why?
Yeah, so that banner went up on Wednesday of last week. The shelter is at critical capacity, especially for canines right now. This morning, I believe we only had 2 open dog kennels between both facilities. Our cat capacity towards the end of last week was also up in the 80% range. And so we basically have 3 modes of ways pets come to the shelter. Essentially, think of it as 3 different sinks with 3 different faucets. And one being the city contract, one being our county contract, and the third one being surrenders. We can't touch the faucet on the city contract. We can't touch the faucet on the county contract because we are contractually obligated to take any animal that is part of those contracts, and we have to take them in and we have to have space for them. The only faucet that we can control even a little bit is that surrender faucet. And so we have to slow down the intake of animals through the surrender portion right now because of the capacity that we're at. We also are undergoing HVAC replacement of one of our dog kennels starting September 8th. Badly needed. Those HVAC systems are well past their useful life. And so we will lose the ability to use 1/3 of our kennels for about a month starting in September. So we need to start getting the number of pets that are in the shelter's care, especially dogs, back to a manageable number. But what I will say is, even though that's posted on there, if somebody walks in our door today, our staff, their first question is going to be, can you hold on to that animal any longer? And if their answer is no, we still take it. And if they say yes, they can, then we put them on that wait list. We provide them with a rehoming information to attempt to rehome the pet on their own. And actually, as of last Friday, there is now a section on our website as well where pets that are being rehomed by their owner are available for the public to view and potentially acquire a pet from home to home rehoming instead of that pet ever coming to the shelter. So that is why that is on there, to make sure that we can provide the level of care we expect to provide to the animals already in our care, which is currently over 400, and make sure that we can still meet the contractual obligations that we have.
And another question is, are the number of animals, aren't they on the decline?
The number of pets coming to the shelter, back in 2020 and 2021, yes, but since then, especially for dogs, if you put all the dog intake numbers going back to 2012 through last year on a graph, it's a V, and it bottoms out in 2020 and 2021, and within 2 years, it skyrocketed right back up. And so on the dog side, no. It is back to the levels we were seeing over a decade ago. The cat numbers, they've improved. In 2019, the shelter took in just under 3,900 cats. Last year was about 2,900 cats. But that's, we believe, due to a lot of programming that we have done that is not related to this contract, through sterilization of community cats and offering low-cost spay-neuter programs for felines.
All right. Other questions, Council? Councilman Bowers.
So I've gotten a couple of messages from folks surprised that I've been asking questions about the Capital Humane Society contract. And, you know, I came up with some amendments that we were able to work together through the administration, through Humane Society, and through other council members. And this is something that I consider very deeply personal. My first dog I got when I was 4 years old. And it was a big chocolate lab named Guess, who was with me all the way until I was 17 years old. My second dog was a black lab bulldog mix named Bobby, who I got when I was 15, starting to enter those like awkward teenage phases. And he was with me all the way until I was 27. And when I was 17, I had a basset hound named Betsy that I got when I was 17, and she was with me for 14 years. Each time one of those parts of my family passed away, it was one of the hardest moments of my life. And one of the things that always brought me a feeling of security when I had those three dogs with me was if anything happened to them and they got out, thank God we had a strong animal control system and a Humane Society system to be able to make sure that they are safe and well taken care of. My dear friend Janet Chung, after Betsy had passed away, made a donation to the Capital Humane Society in Betsy's name. And I got a very sweet letter from Mr. Downey that said, please accept our sincere sympathy for the loss of Betsy Bowers. The Capital Humane Society has received a thoughtful donation from the following, given in her memory, from Janet Chung. And Betsy will be remembered as the work we do in caring for the homeless and lost animals in our community. So this is not about any one specific person or any one specific organization, but making sure that all animals in our city are well taken care of. And if that means asking hard questions, I'm absolutely going to do that. And I hope that people would join me in asking for those. The thing that actually got me involved in politics, and I got some questions here, and so I appreciate a little bit of a narrative here, but one of the things that got me involved in politics as a social worker was when the state privatized child welfare. And that was one of the worst things that our state ever did. And ever since then, I've been really hesitant about privatization. And that's what this is. Now, the Capital Humane Society has a great track record of getting things done. I'm not trying to create a parallel on the outcomes from the privatization of child welfare to the privatization of the Humane Society, but to say we have a due diligence to ask hard questions out of our friends. We have a responsibility to make sure that animals and their human relatives are being taken care of and receiving adequate services. So it was a huge surprise when, what was it, a year ago or something like that, when you and I first had a conversation and essentially demanding a tripling of amount, right? And I was like, I thought things were going fine. This was completely brand new to me. And so I'd like to delve a little more into how did we get here? Because, you know, Bob had been there for decades, right?
Mhm.
And then there was an executive director between you and Bob, Diane, I think, I can't remember her exact name. And then you came on board. So you mentioned the Pylock Adoption Center. What I'm seeing is like an increasing rate of adoption rates regardless of the tripling of city funds, right? So again, I think that's a true testament to the Capital Humane Society ability to do good things with the resources that they're given. But this is a huge jump, right? So how did we get here? How did this go on for so long without anyone catching it and saying, we need to ask the city for more money in order to do our jobs? How did we get here?
Well, so the first component is what I mentioned, where the adoption center, none of the expenses to operate that facility, including staffing for that facility, were included in the bid in 2016. I can't speak to why the previous management excluded them, but there's a sentence in that bid that says all expenses related to the Pylock Pet Adoption Center were omitted. And if those had been included, that previous contract probably would have been more like 800, 900,000 and, you know, made its way up to over $1 million by the end of the term of the contract. And so that's really the biggest piece of why there's such a gap. But then all these other factors we're talking about too. I mean, the placement rate even 6 years ago was only 72%, and now it's 20% more almost. So, you know, that's a big difference in just 5-6 years as well. And literally the cost of labor is the biggest component here. I mean, you know, back in 2020, an entry-level animal care staff member was being paid $12.07, and now we have to pay those people $16 just to compete with you know, other entities in the community so that we can attract high-quality candidates for our positions. And so we had to make a leap in what we're compensating, you know, those types of staff members with, and there's quite a few of them, and so it all adds up. Those components, and then inflation with the cost of veterinary labor especially. I don't know how many people recognize, but there's a lot of corporations that have acquired vet clinics around the country, and they have deeper pockets than we do, and they offer pretty significant salaries and signing bonuses for veterinary professionals. And so we've had to make significant adjustments on our veterinary staff side to be able to even employ those individuals because we're competing with pretty deep pockets on those corporations.
So, you know, and I guess one of the things that I'm trying to figure out, and I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask you this, but I guess I'm just going to put this out there as a note, is if the contract probably should have been, you know, double the amount of what you're receiving a decade ago, you know, it's not easy being an executive director, and it's not easy serving on a board of directors. I've done both. But I'm wondering, you know, who did not provide the leadership in past years over the past decade to make sure that the Capital Humane Society was receiving the amount of dollars that they needed? I'm not asking you to respond to that because I'm not going to put you on the spot and, you know, have you respond to that. But that's what's going through my mind, right? Where was that leadership issue at that created the situation to where in 2024 you're asking for triple the amount of money? In past contracts, let me ask you this question about metrics. So because we have privatized sheltering services, prior to the contract that was negotiated between the administration and the amendments that we've all been able to negotiate through, what past city metrics did the Humane Society provide to the city in terms of quality assurance, the safety of animals, making sure that people had a good experience, making sure that animals had a good experience? What previous metrics were provided to the city?
I don't recall anything specifically about that. It was mainly information about stats. So previous contracts, reports included city fees for impoundments, daily care and licensing, because we collect fees for the city of Lincoln, and animal control when animals are claimed, number of animals held for observation, written reports on cruelty and neglect cases, the number of animals impounded by the city and number of days each animal was held at the shelter. That was a monthly number of pets reclaimed by their owner, number of pets released for adoption, number of pets euthanized, and then quarterly income and expenditures related to performance of agreement, and it's about expenses. But then This new contract obviously has all of these different metrics related to those animals that are coming to the shelter, significantly more metrics.
So there's no doubt that the Humane Society has a good reputation in the community. Now, I've talked about my dogs earlier, but the universe provided me a cat. Everyone knows the story of how I was taking a shower and this cat just walked in and said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And the cat's been freeloading with me ever since.
You want another one?
So as I've been looking at this, as I've been looking,
we can get you another one. Or two.
My mom back there who has tried to talk me out to get another one. But my point is, what I'm saying is, as I'm looking at this contract, I'm looking at it through, the lens of, God forbid if Tony got out, Tony's my cat, or if Bobby or Betsy or Guess had, ended up in the Humane Society, right? And if there were no real metrics other than financial that were being reported, I think that is a huge oversight. Because again, during my social work, I'm still a social worker, but when the state privatized child welfare, if there were no real metrics being created, that is just unbelievable. And I think that really is a dereliction of duty, you know what I mean, to make sure that all animals are being taken care of. Now,
I will say we provide, or like internally, we do, I'm a stats nerd, so when it comes to data on the shelter side, like we track a lot of different things. I guess what you're asking for is why is it not part of the contract? Again, I can't speak to why it wasn't previously, but it's not like we don't keep track of all of those sorts of data points.
For sure.
Because
And
we do.
My point in bringing that up is to explain why I've added some amendments, in terms of the performance metrics, right? And again, these are not a surprise to anyone. These have been shared, with folks. I know that there's been ongoing conversation, but to really kind of explain why these metrics are important and why they're getting added in. And so, again, I think it's concerning that no past metrics were performed. And if anything, I think that some of these metrics may actually help future requests, right? May actually help future asks in providing a case of how the city can be helpful to the Humane Society. What percentage of this contract, and you mentioned this before, but just to be super clear, what percentage of this contract will pay for the overall operating revenue for Capital Humane Society?
So overall operating revenue for last year, let me pull it up here. So shelter operations last year were $1,086,000. That did not include the city contracts. So basically about the equivalent for this year.
So for overall Capital Humane Society, right, we're going to be making
For
about
shelter operations revenue. I'm not talking about fundraising revenue. I'm talking about shelter operations revenue. So adoption fees, cremation services, boarding fees, those sorts of things. That's our shelter operations revenue. Last year was $1,086,000. This year we're on pace for about 1.15 or 1.15 million. So this contract will be close to about the same as what the shelter operations is.
Right, but for your overall revenue, we're going to be making about 50% of your overall operational revenue, right?
No, fundraising this year is on pace to hit 1.5 million. We've got grants, we've got our investments. Our Stransky Vet Center is on pace to generate about 700 to 750,000 this year in revenue. So
again, for the overall Capital Humane Society, when all the dollars come in, what percentage of those are going to be city dollars?
Basically a little over a fourth.
A little over a fourth. Okay. Here's the question that I have for you in response to that. So I know that we had added in some performance metrics and also added in some things to ensure that the city's receiving information and to also make sure that animals are being taken care of. And I'm not going to talk about the specifics of the amendment because I think we have to wait till we get to the voting session of it. But this isn't exactly, but I just want to touch on it if that's okay with Justin. You talked about how you have a quality assurance model that you currently have in place, right? Can you talk to me a little bit about what your quality assurance model is?
Yeah, so we last fall started using a platform called Petzl, and so it's for post-adoption support, and so system sends out surveys to adopters at multiple points in time post-adoption to collect data on how the process is going, if there's issues with the pet, if they want us to reach out to them for any reason, whether it's medical behavior, or they can also just provide updates too. And so that goes out 1 day after adoption, 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, and 6 months. And so those surveys go out. Obviously not everybody fills out every survey, but those surveys have been really good for us to identify pets that might be at risk of being returned for some reason, and so that our staff can get a hold of those adopters and see if there's something that we can do to help with that acclimation process. But overall, the responses to those surveys have been extremely positive.
So if the city is going to be making up a huge chunk of your revenue, right, it seems appropriate that we know that the humans that are coming through are having a positive experience, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Does that apply to reunification of animals, or is that just for adoption?
The PETZL only applies to adoptions, and the reason why I think you would have a difficult time getting an accurate survey of people reclaiming their pets, no offense to animal control, but most people aren't thrilled about paying fees to claim their pet, and oftentimes they don't necessarily understand that Capital Humane Society is a private entity. Animal control is a city division of the health department, and so when they're standing in our building, it's our staff saying, you owe these fees to get your animal back. It's hard for them to separate those things, and our staff mostly daily deal with very upset people, either on the phone or in person, that are claiming their pets. And so if you're trying to do a survey of people claiming their pets, you're probably going to get a more emotional response that might not necessarily reflect on Capital Humane Society, when their true issue might be with the city and animal control related to fees, or that animal control even just picked up their dog. I mean, you know how many times we've heard people be like, they stole it out of my backyard. I mean, you're dealing with people that are just, in a lot of cases, they're happy to get their pet back, but they're not necessarily happy about what's occurring with having to pay fines and fees, and that their pet was just picked up in general. Some people think their cat obviously should just be able to roam free, and then their cat gets picked up and they're unhappy, why is my cat getting picked up? So I think you would get kind of some, what's the term, not collateral damage, but ricochet towards Capital Humane Society if you were trying to survey that. Yeah.
You know, and what I think is surprising about that is, again, I'm not going to amend that in here, because how we came up with this was, you know, through long, good negotiation from everyone. But I think what's surprising about hearing that is, and I would like to look at that at some time in the future. I'm not going to ask that this get included here, but I would like to ask that be looked at some time in the future, because one, if someone found my cat or my dog, I would give them my kidney. You know what I mean? And I probably shouldn't say that, because now someone's going to come and kidnap me.
Only have two.
I shouldn't say that.
You need a couple of
I would just be,
vaccines.
I would be very, very grateful. And so the idea that someone would be, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but we live in a city where we care for our pets, we care for our animals, and I am just so genuinely surprised that you're saying that the majority of people that retrieve their animals are pissed off about it or upset about it. And I don't understand that mindset, and I just don't think that really is a Lincolnite value. But I'm not going to ask that gets included in, but I think it's something to talk about in the future.
And I would say they're happy to get their pet back, but they're not happy about the fees that are
And I think the point of a little bit of this is quality assurance is to measure the work being done by the Capital Humane Society, but this is influenced pretty heavily by the work in animal control. And that isn't a criticism of animal control. They do a fantastic job, but I see what you're saying about not necessarily being able to provide that feedback in a way that informs us about the Capital Humane Society operations.
And one thing I would add too is the standard of care for pets at the shelter, what we have ingrained in our staff, is that if you wouldn't put your personal dog or cat in one of those cages, then you didn't do a good enough job. If you won't board your own animal in our shelter, which we don't allow anyways, but if you wouldn't, then we didn't do a good enough job and we're not taking care of the animals well enough. So that's our standard of care.
And I'm interested to look at, that kind of leads to one of the other amendments about, pursuing other methods to show that the Capital Humane Society is conforming with relevant best practice standards, right? trust but verify, right? Humane Society has a great reputation, but the fact that there had been no previous metrics, I think it's crucial to know that, and I'm glad that there's an agreement on this, that providing information to the health department on how they're meeting best practices, I think will be huge and will make people feel more comfortable. And again, create a stronger case for the Capital Humane Society.
Can I add one thing to that too? We invest in we make in our budget CE, continuing education, a priority for our staff. So we send numerous staff members annually to different conferences around the country that are animal welfare focused, so that we are always staying at the forefront of what best practices are, bouncing ideas off of others at other organizations, creating those networks so that we can conform with that.
The other one, talking about how leadership had let this go on for so long, right? And in terms of not requesting what's needed. And that's why I'm looking forward to the ex officio member onto the board to help navigate that in the future, following the same process as every other committee and board. So I'm glad that we've been able to come to an agreement on all of those things. But I did want to follow up on one thing that Councilman Duden said, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to respond. Councilman Duden brought up the not accepting rehoming dogs currently at the moment. Come across a couple of situations which I think are really concerning, and I'm not going to, again, amend this to add additional metrics because we've already come to an agreement on that, but I hope that the Humane Society would consider adding in how many animals were turned away. And the reason why I say that is because there's a story that I came in contact with where a person had attempted to take some puppies to the Humane Society or take some dogs to the Humane Society, were declined twice, and then ended up abandoning them at a dog park. And out of bad situations that could exist, at a dog park is a better situation than tossing them into a river. And so knowing when I heard that story, that's concerning to me. I'm not going to ask that I'm not going to amend anything in there, but I would hope that you would consider sharing how many animals are potentially turned away in the future, because that's concerning to me.
Can I speak to that story?
Yeah, let me make one more statement on top of that, because I understand where you're coming from in terms of not having enough space, right? There's a reality. There's only a certain amount of dollars and space. I get that. And we live in a horrible world sometimes, right? I get that. But if a person's coming in to surrender their animal and they don't have that option, I'm worried that we're then putting that animal in an even more dangerous situation. So absolutely, I would love for you to respond to that.
So again, our staff is asking if they're able to hold on to the animal or not. If they say no, again, we will take that animal right then and there. Now, we can't control necessarily how they interpret that question. If they respond with, yeah, they can hold on to it, and then they leave and they actually can't, I mean, they should have communicated that. And I think our staff are very well versed in being unjudgmental with individuals that are bringing their pets in to surrender to them. But you brought up dogs, puppies being dumped at a dog park. That actually was a rescue out of South Dakota. Not a very reputable organization, and they did that multiple times where they would have their volunteers drive dogs and puppies from South Dakota down to Lincoln, would dump them at dog parks, and the last time that happened was about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and they were cited by Lincoln Animal Control for providing false information. So they weren't turned away from us. They never contacted us to bring those animals to us and arrange a transfer of animals. They went basically and lied, said that these were dumped and found at a dog park. So they weren't turned away from CHS.
Well, I'm absolutely glad that they were cited and that they're being held accountable. And what I'll say to kind of wrap up my questioning on this was, when it comes to safeguarding, the safety and lives of our animal residents, absolutely. I'm going to ask hard questions out of everyone, and I'm going to demand nothing but excellence. I was really hesitant and really nervous to have this conversation before we added these amendments in. I had some hard conversations and hard thoughts about what's the best way to move forward. I am glad I decided, I'm going to use my ability to amend this to make it to where we can get record that animals are being treated safely, that we are being good stewards of the life and safety of animals in our community. And instead of just sitting on the sidelines being like, no, I'm not going to have any conversation, I'm glad that we were able to negotiate and figure out a better product that makes me comfortable, that ultimately earned me support on this contract.
Two things to add real quick. Again, going back to the surrenders and trying to slow the intake of surrenders. Another reason for that is because when we are at capacity, a few years ago, we as an organization determined that we were no longer willing to euthanize animals simply for space. And when you run out of kennels and you have nowhere to put them, that's what used to happen, was animals would be euthanized for space. And we decided as an organization we were not willing to do that. And so that is why we have put other programs and services and staff positions in place to try and help people keep their pets, retain their pets so that they don't ultimately end up at the shelter, because we don't want to do that anymore. We don't want to euthanize pets for space. And so that's another component of that as well.
And one thing I'll say and then I'll wrap up this. One thing I'll say in fairness to the Capital Humane Society is that this contract doesn't cover surrendering of animals, right? So I mean, I want to acknowledge that we're talking about surrendering. That is a concern that I have, but I also want to be fair and acknowledge that this contract actually does not cover that at all, or your expenses for that. So I do want to acknowledge that in fairness to the Capital Humane Society.
And then last thing is the original proposed contract was approved by the CHS Board of Directors. The amendment has not, so if the amendment is passed and attached to this, it will have to go back to the CHS Board of Directors for review. So just so you're aware of that.
Other questions?
Yeah,
Councilman
one more
Duden.
thing. I want to kind of circle back on one of the things that I don't like to see happen, and that is that when people come in to pick up their pets, that you look like the bad guy. And so I'm kind of wondering if we can't work something out with the health department to collect those fees that are incurred because of fines and what have you from animal control. And so that all they have to do is send you an email and says, this animal is good to go. The owners can pick it up, and you don't even have that interaction about fines and what have you, because I think personally that animal control issued the ticket. And that means I think the health department ought to be on the receiving end of collecting the fine. I think that would help you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure our staff would be appreciative of that.
Other questions? Okay, thank you both.
All right.
Thank you.
Are there any members of the public that'd like to comment on this? If so, please come forward.
Slowly?
Yeah.
Very slowly. Before I get started, Councilman Bowers, we were one of those people sitting on the beach in Florida and got a phone call from our housekeeper, or the house sitter, that our dog had escaped and bitten another dog, and that animal control would be at our door. When were we coming home? They'll be there about an hour after you get home. And they were. And we not only got fined, but we had to go to court because the dog had bitten another dog. Well, thank heavens the judge threw it out, and so we came away okay, but things happen, you know. I mean, obviously, we weren't at home, and we couldn't control the dog, so there you go. But that's why, and you get mad at animal control, and maybe that's not fair. Well, good afternoon. There are a couple of you I don't know very well, and so let me introduce myself, and there is a point to this. I'm Dean Finnegan, 1936 Ryan Street. I have served as chief of staff for 2 mayors, one a Democrat, one a Republican, and I'm very proud of that. I have respected and loved them both. In addition, I helped orient a 3rd mayor who was new to the job and stayed there for about 4 or 5 months. During those years, I had the opportunity to work with some really good city councils. And I have unfortunately seen more CHS and animal control contracts than I ever want to see ever again in my life. They were always hard, they were always filled with emotion, but we always got through them, and I think we'll get through them today. I have been very, very fortunate in my life. I've had a lot of mentors, and the gavel has been changed to you all, and I hope you will continue to mentor people. My mentors that I want to talk about, besides all of my mayors and city council people, are some interesting ones. Roger Larson was a mentor. Roger was a businessman here in town, great businessman. My first week as a mayor's chief of staff, I screwed up and cost him $6,000. Instead of getting mad, he was gracious. He taught me about grace and about leadership. And I really, really, really will always be grateful, because I could have lost my job if it hadn't been for Roger Larson's grace. Bill Harris gave me the opportunity to coordinate Farm Aid for the city of Lincoln. I was brand new to 1 month into the job. He had faith. Bob Carey offered me a position on his national president's race. How many people get to do that? And Bob had no reason, other than sitting on a baseball field with me for years with our kids, to offer me that job. Dale Young took a risk. Dale was Republican. He took a risk on this Democrat, thinking I was going to do okay with him. And what can I say? Larry Arth, emeritus, taught me about being prepared. That was his thing. You better be prepared for every meeting you go to. And that was valuable. He also taught me that sometimes you have to spend money to do good. And if you look in this community at the number of individuals, it's been good. Thank you. Anyway, I just want to point that out, that there lots of love for the community, and I sense that lots of love here from each and every one of you for community. I want to let you know that today I've been asked by Mary and Jim Abel to testify on their behalf, as they are out of state and unable to attend, and I want to get the wording right. They want me to share with you that they strongly support the contract originally agreed on and echo my views that I will be sharing. Shortly after Matt became director, I had the opportunity to facilitate a meeting, an introduction between Mary and Matt. And in an unexpected move, Jim also showed up at the meeting. Those of you who have ever asked Jim Abel for money will understand that I used to break out in a cold sweat when I had to go in and visit him. I knew he expected me to know my financials and the outcome of his investments, and I would have 5 minutes to let him know what those were. And sitting around the table up there are 3 of his investments. Matt had no such warning, but Jim later told me that their meeting went well. Matt was transparent and able to present the numbers and to share his vision for the agency. Jim thought Matt was going to make a great CEO. Mary says that Matt later invited them back to review the contract. To quote Mary, after listening to Matt, this is her quote, "After listening to Matt and going over the numbers, we felt strongly that the city needed to step up and pay for the service.
And Dean, we're at 5 minutes now. If you want to kind of
Oh
just,
gosh,
in
okay,
closing,
I'll
it
just
goes
finish
fast. I know.
I'm going to
Yeah.
do this. The city would be hard-pressed to replicate this service, and Matt has provided the city council with all they have asked for, and we cannot imagine them not following through and getting this agreement passed." End of her quote. And that's my testimony. Just, I know you'll do the right thing. I know you'll be careful about the city, the finances, and the community. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there other members of the public who would like to testify? If so, please come forward now. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and proceed.
We can now vote on these items. I will call item 5A. Item 5A is accepting and approving the report of new and pending claims against the city for July 16th through July 31st of 2025, introduced by Show.
So moved.
Second?
Second by Beckius. Discussion. Go ahead, Councilman Duden.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to pull that particular claim from this list, to have an opportunity to visit with the city attorney's office on it and come to some, maybe a better conclusion by next week.
And just for clarification, that's Brooklyn Polinsky's claim,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I'll second the motion.
Seconded by Shob. Okay, any discussion?
I have a question for, pardon me, my microphone. I have a question for my fellow counselor. Councilman, you said that you'd like to pull the claim to negotiate a better outcome.
Yes.
And I will probably vote to give you the week that you've asked for. But I would hope that that included more research into the situation and not just an assumption that
Yes.
it needed to be paid.
Yes.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I'd like to look into it and see some other factors and what have you.
Welcome, Counselor.
If I may, respectfully, I would ask respectfully that you just put it on pending and not put a week.
Okay.
Because then it could come at the time that we bring claims
Okay.
back. And
Yeah,
not be tied to the week.
That would be fine.
If that would be
Yeah.
all right. Thank you.
So just clarifying the motion is.
Change it
for-
to just place it on pending.
Put to pending.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion?
I would like to speak
Yes.
on this. One, I want to thank Ms. Polinsky for coming forward. It's not easy to come to a council meeting and speak. I really appreciate your situation, and I'm really glad that you and your family were not hurt by the tree coming down. Just finding out that trail trees are in a different category gives me some pause, but it doesn't give me pause that that the city is necessarily completely in the wrong, but I can understand where we might make some changes in the system. I've always found the Parks Department to be reputable and trustworthy, and so if I can imagine them coming out and inspecting, but they did put a work order in, which is all right. That they can say they didn't think the trees needed to be worked on, but I do believe that there was a solution that Director Stokey Ross provided us right away, which was that uplink is the best way to keep a permanent record of any situation. And so I guess I would encourage everyone to do that, and I think the city has some responsibility in getting that out there. But I will be voting in support of further research into your claim, and best of luck.
All right, other discussion on this? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and call the roll for the amended motion.
Beckius?
No.
Powers?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Shob?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried. 5-1.
Now the whole motion.
And then we'll vote separately correctly on the main motion, 5A.
Beckius?
Yes.
Powers?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Shob?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 5B is approving a tax levy request from the Lincoln Airport Authority, introduced by Shob.
So moved.
Second?
Second by Beckius. Any discussion? Seeing none, please proceed calling the roll.
Washington?
Yes.
Shob?
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 5C is approving the Downtown Lincoln Association's 2025-2026 Maintenance and Management BID Budget and Program of Work, introduced by Show.
So moved.
Second?
Second by Beckius. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bowers,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 5D is approving the grant award between the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services, Public Health Tobacco Free Nebraska, and the City of Lincoln on behalf of Lincoln Lancaster County Health Department in the amount of $588,750 to help people quit tobacco, eliminate exposure to secondhand smoke and aerosol, protect our youth by keeping them from using tobacco, including e-cigarettes, and identify and eliminate health disparities related to commercial tobacco product use from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th of 2027, introduced by Show.
So moved.
Second?
Second by Beckius. Any discussion? Seeing none, please proceed. Call
Wash-
the roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 5E is appeal by Troy Bird of Planning Commission approval of special permit 1423M to amend the existing special permit for Highmark Estates Community Unit Plan to add 9 lots on property generally located at South 89th Street and Highmark Lane, introduced by Show.
So moved.
Second?
Second by Beckius. Discussion. Councilwoman Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I appreciate the appeal and the desire for even greater assurances that the drainage plan would be stuck to. But I do find that that is a redundant request. We have a law already that makes it necessary for builders to put the site back to the grading plan that was already certified. And even though homeowners don't often keep track of their responsibility, I think it's pretty well known in the community that we're not allowed to push water onto our neighbor's property. And so I won't support an additional amendment asking for a double certification. But I would suggest that properties sold in Highmark probably come with a warning that says there's drainage issues in our community in general, and that folks should be very cognizant of that when they attempt additional landscaping.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bowers,
No.
Washington,
No.
Schob,
Mr. Chair,
Can we
I
have
think we should take a
clarification
moment.
here?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm
I
voting
forgot
yes.
to ask. It's appeal.
Benny, I'm sorry.
Go for it. You got it. We're on the same page. You do it.
The appeal means that we are voting like we are voting for the first time.
Correct. It is on the appeal, when it's brought before you, it is as if it is coming anew. So it is, I believe it came from the Planning Commission as recommend approval. And so a vote yes would be voting in line with the Planning Commission, which would be a denial of the appeal.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And what I just did was a double negative. I'm so sorry. So can
So for
Council?
a point of order and clarification, a yes vote would be in affirmation of the planning commissions.
Correct.
A no vote would be against that.
Correct.
Then. Correct.
I'm with you, Sandra.
I just did it backwards. So, Counselor, what is the legal way for us to stop ourselves?
They've already voted. Can they? Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Well, yeah, that's a good question. This is not something that comes up all the time. I would.
Ever?
Right.
Okay.
I would just look at the council rules to see if there's anything that speaks to that, but I think we haven't called the vote, so I know that there is a way to start the process over. But let me just.
Not finished to start over?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So now we'll recall the vote, if we will, or call the vote.
Let me just see if there- let me
again.
Let's just check
So
the.
Let me look at one thing.
check Robert's Rules of Order.
It's council rules, not Robert's.
Council, okay.
Sorry.
stronger. So.
Only the winning side can reconsider.
Yeah.
Second. I have them pulled up.
We're going to take a brief 5-minute recess here.
Good idea.
All in favor, say aye. I should say.
council rules are silent to this. Thank you for the brief recess. I think the final vote has not been called, and so I think the council members who voted are allowed to revote.
All right.
Okay.
So, given that, we will go ahead and call the roll, a new roll from the start. Is that probably the cleanest way to do that?
With unanimous consent of the council, yes, I think that's fine.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you ask us? You could ask.
Everybody okay with that?
All right.
Okay. All right. So, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Bowers?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
Appreciate the grace there.
Me too.
Item 5F. Special permit 25029, application of St. Matthew's Church to allow an early childhood care facility for up to 85 children with associated waivers on property generally located at 2325 South 24th Street. Introduced by Schob.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Washington. Discussion. Seeing none, go ahead and call the, or are you one? Oh,
That was me.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Councilwoman.
I just wanted to verbally give my support and explain that early childhood needs are great in our community. There are many
Yes.
families that don't have the access to early childhood care, and be able to have a neighborhood-based child care facility is a really good thing to have in our community. So thank you, St. Matt's.
St. Matthews.
St. Matt's. I'm sorry, Matthews, not Matt's. I'm sorry. I just shorten it down.
Wrong saint.
I agree. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Beckius?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 5G is approving the service agreement between the City of Lincoln on behalf of the Lincoln Lancaster County Health Department, Animal Control Division, and the Capital Humane Society to provide animal shelter and related services for a 4-year term with the option to renew for 1 additional 4-year term. Introduced by Schob.
So moved.
Second?
Second by Beckius. Discussion. Councilman Bowers.
I have a motion to amend that I'll just kind of go over pretty briefly. These amendments are what helped get me to a yes vote instead of just sitting on the side and
Let's get the second.
yeah, let's get there. The number of there would be information metrics, the number of veterinary services performed on all animals brought to Capital Humane Society per year. The euthanasia rate on all animals brought to Capital Humane Society, including the reason why. Animal placement rate on all animals brought to Capital Humane Society, the total number of unduplicated and duplicated animals. In addition to that, develop a quality assurance model in collaboration and agreement with the health department, which would be the Petzl group that they're using now currently. The fee that would be as a result of meeting the gap that was talked about for pet licensing would be listed as every pet license bill shall state Capital Humane Society sheltering fee in an amount up to $10, so long as all funds collected pursuant to Capital Humane Society sheltering fee are allocated to the contract. So essentially, this is letting people know who are licensing their pets that the increase is going to the Capital Humane Society's sheltering services to help provide accountability and transparency for it. If at some point that those dollars are no longer being given to the Capital Humane Society, then the Capital Humane Society name would come off. CHS will explore any accreditation options and provide a recommendation as to whether they should obtain formal accreditations or pursue other methods to show how they are conforming with relevant practice standards. So, for example, the Association of Shelter Veterinarians has a guide of best practices for shelters, and this is to help ensure that animals that are coming to the Capital Humane Society are receiving the best possible care and helps inform the work that they're doing. And then the Capital Humane Society shall have an ex officio member of their board, which means non-voting and would not affect their quorum. That is appointed by the mayor of the city of Lincoln and approved by the Lincoln City Council. And it shall be the same terms as all the other community, the Capital Humane Society board members.
All right, motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Duden.
Oh, that's what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay. Discussion? Councilman Beckius.
Yeah, just a couple of questions. Councilman Bowers, quick question on the section DD, CHS shall have an ex officio member of the board that is appointed by the mayor of the city of Lincoln and approved by the city council. The terms of said ex officio member shall be the same terms as all other CHE or CHS, excuse me, board members as outlined in the CHS bylaws. You had briefly touched upon it, but I just wanted to make sure. So the intent here is to have a member of the board who is a non-voting member.
Yeah, that's what ex officio would mean.
Okay. And this is someone who's appointed by the mayor. They are not holding this position because they hold another office.
What do you mean? Yeah, so I mean, it's not like a city council member would sit there. It'd be like a resident, like we do for the other boards and appointments that come up. So it wouldn't be a council member and it wouldn't be, you know, the health director sitting on, but it would be a resident.
Okay.
Volunteer.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that was the intent here, just because ex officio typically means you hold a position on a board because you hold another position. And so I wanted to make sure that that definition was clearly defined here and understood.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, the goal is that it follows the same thing as all of the other boards that we recommend or that we appoint and confirm. So anyone can make a nomination. People can apply to be on there. Lyrian would appoint. The council would then confirm. That person is a non-voting resident member. It's not another meeting that the council would take on to our plate or put onto the director of the health department, but it would be a resident.
Okay. And city law is comfortable with that intent being clarified as opposed to the language shown here?
Yeah. Yes, I think we've clarified it on the record, and the intent of that language is that it would be a non-voting member. I understand why you're asking the question, but I think we have it clarified here today on the record.
Okay. So, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it. And then I have some questions for the Humane Society as well.
Councilman Beckius, just before you get to your other questions, can I ask a clarifying question that tags your first question?
Sure.
The ex officio member that the city will nominate and put onto the board, is that person's responsibility to watch out for the city? I mean, to look at the issues coming before the board through the city's eyes? Or just another person?
No, well, I assume we'd probably appoint someone that we would hopefully have the kind of outlook that would help the board understand the city's position.
Okay.
That wouldn't necessarily be someone that answers to the mayor, answers to the city council. I think everyone here has appointed members to a board, and we've never spoken to them again. I hope it's a little more than that. But the point is, they should operate in the environment the board is operating in. They are part of that board.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you for the interruption.
Sure. Absolutely. Matt, please. Matt, can I apologize. I don't think you have a copy of this. Could we talk about the pet license fee and some of the funds collected for that pet licensing fee pursuant to the amendment as it's written?
Yeah.
Is that the agreement that you had made previously?
So there's a couple components that I think are maybe unclear or missing. What we had talked about, Rick and I, on Friday was that if at any point those $10 fees exceeded what the contract compensation was for CHS, is that those $10 fees would then come to CHS in excess of what the contract compensation was, simply because if our name's gonna be on it and we're telling the community that all of these $10 fees are going to CHS, there needs to be the safeguard in place where that CHS is actually receiving all of those funds. And we had also talked about maybe a monthly report of pet licenses sold by the city of Lincoln, by animal control, with the number of $10 fees being collected, so that we at CHS are seeing that actually all $10 of each of those are coming to CHS. While with animal control's current license numbers, I don't think that's gonna happen, but basically if Capital Humane Society's name's gonna be on it, and for some reason animal control in the next year does some massive licensing campaign and somehow gets it up to 75,000 licenses, then the city's gonna be pocketing $10 fees that have Capital Humane Society's name on it when we're telling the public all of those $10 fees are coming to CHS. So it's not that we anticipate that that's gonna happen, but I think it's fair that CHS has that protection in there, that if we're calling it a CHS fee, CHS is truly always entitled to the full $10.
May I jump in?
Oh, sorry.
I think
We have adequately covered that with the language you have. I don't have it in front of me either, but could you read that part again, Counselor?
Yep. Every pet license bill shall state Capital Humane Society sheltering fee in an amount up to $10, so long as all funds collected pursuant to the Capital Humane Society sheltering fee are allocated to the contract. If any funds collected pursuant to the Capital Humane Society sheltering fee are no longer allocated to the contract, then the city must remove Capital Humane Society sheltering fee from every pet license bill.
Mr. Attorney, I'd love it if you come comment on this for a minute. I guess during our conversations, I was led to believe that any dollar collected, that even $1 over that amount went to something else, the Capital Humane Society's name came off of it.
That's certainly how I read it. That was certainly the intent of how we drafted it, but I'd be happy to answer any questions or try to help us, help clarify what needs to be clarified.
So I guess my question is who's gonna keep track of that? I mean, who's gonna look at it, and as soon as, if it ever happens, if the dollar amount goes over, who's gonna put a stop and change the next license invoice that goes out?
Well, I mean, we already have a gap between how much pet licensing fees are going to be coming in and dollars that will be coming out of general fund, right? So, you know, I can't see where somehow pet licensing fees then overcome any of that gap.
Carrie, the health director, well, first of all, that information is kept about pet licenses and the revenues generated, and it will be the health director that makes that determination. Am I correct?
Yeah, we'll be tracking that.
Okay.
So, but can CHS get a report monthly of how many licenses are sold and how many $10 fees are collected, so that we all, I mean, you know, we're being asked for a lot of
I hear
data,
that. I
so-
see the health director nodding, so I think you've hit it.
Okay, so as long as we're getting a report that, you know, we're also, basically both sides are keeping track, if that ever occurred, you know, then the language changes, I think is fair for both sides.
And this verbal
Councilman
agreement-
Shob first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this verbal agreement we have here at the dais is adequate.
That's up to Matt and his team. I would say it seems like a fairly simple thing to add, should council desire to do that.
Okay, I think everybody's nodding yes. I think we're good.
Here?
Yeah.
I agree with that. I would just also, just so everyone's aware, it is a public record as well. So I mean, it would be provided, quite honestly, at the
Pull up
request.
the tapes.
Quite honestly, it would be provided at the request of anyone. In the public.
Because here's the goal, right? Here's the goal. The goal is to be completely fair, right? The goal is not for the city to profit off, you know, dollars coming into the Capital Humane Society. The goal is to let the pet people who license their pet know where their dollars are going. And the way that they know where dollars are going is by saying, we have to raise pet licensing fees to cover the gap for the Capital Humane Society. Because we have to raise fees to do that, it's going to the Capital Humane Society. So letting people know where their dollars are going and why there had to be a fee increase.
Yeah, and I understand that. I think my point is just more of, I think the city and animal control is going to obviously probably make an effort to close the gap that's coming from the general fund. So I would assume animal control will probably be doing some sort of licensing initiative and essentially want to, if it ever exceeds it, our name shouldn't be on it, is what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah.
I don't quite understand that, what you're talking about.
basically,
What do you mean your name's not gonna be on it?
if the number of licenses being sold significantly increases, because I would assume animal control is now going to try and increase pet licensing so that the gap that is coming out of the city's general fund to pay the difference in this contract.
I can make it even simpler.
Capital,
Are we collecting?
Humane
go ahead.
Society does not increase licenses, do they?
I'm sorry, say again, Counselor?
Capital Humane Society has nothing to do with increasing the licenses.
They don't, but their name is going on the pet license as part of this amendment that would say that $10 is going to service their contract. So in the event we would collect more than we're providing to the Capital Humane Society, the language that we have would say no, then their name needs to come off that line item.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Dan, we're gonna spend this money on roads now, and we're coming out of licenses.
Yeah.
No, we don't want that to be.
Right.
Yeah.
We want to be clear with the public that your $10.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Scapegoat in case something goes sideways.
And Matt, I have to concede that piece about the monthly report got away from me for a little bit, but not an intentional thing. Are you comfortable with the public record as our city attorney has mentioned, or do we need to try to come
Yeah,
up
I
with a
think
quick
if
amendment?
it's public record, but again, I need to preface all of this with, I can't agree to this contract.
Right.
If the amendment is added today, this will have to go back to the CHS board for final approval. So if the amendment is added, even with the language we just agreed upon, our board's got to approve it. So we can agree right now on the language, but there's still one more step to get this to the finish line.
We don't have no control of that, so.
Yeah. But I think if we're all understanding of that component, yes.
Meeting of the minds. Yeah. Other questions, Councilwoman Washington?
This is just a plea for all of us. Thank you, Council Chair. Is that I heard the word assumption come out of your mouth, I assume, and so I want to make certain that we're not working off an assumption. Assumption is what got us into this situation over a number of years. So I want to make sure that we have clear language and clear understanding. And I think the public record is fine, but if we're working on assumption, I want to clear those up.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't believe that the city is going to now implement a huge campaign in order to increase fees so that we can profit or build a profit.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, but
that's what you said, and I don't want to argue, but when I heard the word assume, I thought that's how we got here. So we're all trying to do good. We're trying to find that happy place where we can all agree that this is what needs to happen. I think we are there. I think we're at 99.5%. I just want to make certain that we're not working off assumption, but we're working off of clarity. And I understand that your board needs to go back through your own legal counsel before you can sign. Good. Cross those T's, read it one more time, make certain this is what you'll do. Then we can move forward. Thank you.
Finish my questions?
Of course, Councilman Beckius.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Could Jamie come up by chance? Hi, Jamie.
Hello.
Thank you so much. On item DD here, again, it states that.
And Jamie, if you could just state your name and address for the record, please. Sorry.
Sure. Jamie Hemmerling, 8101 North First Street, and I am the board chair of Capital Humane Society
Thank
this
you.
year.
Sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
All right, no, thank you, Chair Carlson. I appreciate it. It states that as per the terms of this contract, you must accept a board member on your board that's to be appointed by the mayor of the city of Lincoln and approved by the city council. You are simply a vendor of the city of Lincoln. There is no other relationship between us. I have never encountered a contract that states that there must be a board member placed on a 501c3 because you're a vendor. Do you have any comments on that? Is that something you want to do?
I do have some comments, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself because our full board has not discussed this yet since this was a new occurrence that has come up. I have served on a lot of boards. I know you all have served on a lot of boards. I also have never been on one where there has been a city-appointed board member. This will require a bylaw change to our bylaws for the organization. We are a 15-member, very hard-working board. We do not have anybody with names on letterheads. So to have a non-voting member on the board We are going to need to add a seat to make that happen because we've already selected our board members for next year. We have a pretty exhaustive process to do that. So that is something we certainly will have to do. I would certainly be interested in if there are any such organizations out there that have city-appointed board members that are not some way affiliated with or established by the city. I would love to know what those are because I'd love to have conversations with them about how they operate. As we've established, you're about a quarter of the revenue that we receive, so there is a lot going on with CHS outside of the work for the city. And we would really need to think about if we have somebody there as a non-voting member, how those will work, how that would work within the board meeting, the confines of that. So I would really want to think through that. As far as the logistics of getting it done, like I said, we would just need to do a bylaw change to allow for that because I don't want to lose one of our existing board members or one that we've already asked and has accepted for the subsequent year. And I guess I would really like to understand from the council, or maybe you, Mr. Bowers, what the point of that is if they're not reporting back to anybody. If we simply have somebody that's appointed by the mayor, is this so that the council can feel like we've done our job and we've put somebody on to look on our best interest, but then what? What's the then what of that? Are they supposed to understand the issues of the city and have a direct link back to speak to you or to speak to the mayor, or what does that process look like, just so that we can make sure we're arming them with the information that they need from our side as well. And like I said, if this has happened before, I'd be happy to talk with those boards or those executive directors and kind of see how we can make this be successful if that is a really important point. But I'm just having trouble understanding where we have a wide cross-section of people, we have rotating board terms, and we have term limits. I'm not sure what adding somebody that's simply appointed by the mayor, where that gets us or what we're trying to accomplish. So I would just really want to understand that so that we can do our job on our end to meet the terms of that contract, and then make sure that you guys are getting the information that you think you're looking for back as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I have a question.
Councilman.
Thank you. So this would not change the number of board members that you already have.
I don't know, if they are an ex officio member of the board, that technically makes them a board member. So our bylaws allow for 15 and we have 15. So if we're now
voting board members.
I'd have to look at the bylaws. I'm not sure our bylaws distinguish between voting and non-voting. We've never
This
had.
would be just an observer.
I don't know, maybe. And maybe it's more of a consultant to the board. I'm not sure if you're looking for a full-fledged board member, even though they're non-board voting, if they're going to say they are a board member of CHS. I think that would be a question for legal counsel once they reviewed our bylaws, but I don't think our bylaws allow for more than 15 members right now. So I would just we'd have to look into that a little bit.
Well, I think what the city is after is the fact that when you're spending $1.5 million on dogs and cats, I think the city's looking to have someone just observe what goes on.
And then what? Are they then reporting back to?
At least we could have a person that we could ask.
Right. Well, I hope you could feel you could ask any of our board members, really. I mean, I hope,
When we originally had this conversation, I think there was some debate about how to do this. And when I left the last conversation with Matt, I think we got to the point where we felt like the board member needed to be part of the board and not necessarily someone that was running to tattle on them to the council or to the mayor, which is why we did that. Now, if it is more comfortable for CHS to have someone that directly reports to council or to mayor, we can certainly make that happen as well. I mean, I think the decision is up to council on what that board member looks like. I think it's always good practice to have whoever you're appointing be part of the mission that the board has, which I think is a better route. And that through our ability to appoint, if there are things that we want to see out of that board member, and Mayor has mentioned specifically some expertise in finance, then we can do that when we do the appointment, as opposed to saying you have to report back to us. But again, I think it's a preference for the council to state through this amendment.
Council, other questions? No other questions. All right, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Council Chair. Because I think it's this issue right now that's driving it, only because you're just seeing this in writing for the first time. I'm wondering if we should hold this at our end until after you have gone through legal counsel. I don't want to force you to sign a contract that you're not ready to sign. And I don't know if that.
We don't either.
And we wouldn't do it either. We wouldn't sign a contract we weren't ready to sign. And so I'm just wondering if this is something that should be put on holding until after you've gone through your own legal counsel, and we can come back to the table as equals and say, we've reached agreement.
Do you feel like your group is confident on what the goals of this person are, who they're going to report to, how that's going to work? Because that will impact, our review of it. I mean, is it completely as written where it is a board member and you want us to add a seat? But there's no reporting mechanisms back? I mean, I'm not sure, is there a firm conclusion on your end what you're trying to do there with this amendment?
I think go ahead. I think what's wild to me about that, this is like one of the most controversial things, is I actually thought that this would be one of the easiest ones, because imagine this whole thing going through, but then your city appointed person being like, these guys are doing everything right. We think that we need to increase the funds. It was almost as a way to be like, here's someone that could help be a champion for you as you navigate through city government stuff. And so it's kind of wild to me, right, that this is like one of the most controversial ones. I don't know if we should need to like write it into our contract, like how it's proposed. We can come up with a process or a policy for it if folks are interested. But I do think that we should move forward with a vote today. Your board can then look at it and then vote on it, or, vote it down or whatever. But I think that holding off for, another week for them to review it puts us in the same position than where they're just voting on it and then we're voting on it. You know what I mean?
No, actually,
No, I don't.
Well, because if we have to vote on it and then they have to vote on it, right? If we hold on to it for a week, then they're still going to have to vote on it, and then we're still going to have to vote on it. There's still going to be like
James will end up having a clean contract then.
I think
Now we don't have one.
I'm not suggesting that it's not a good idea. But hearing that they have to change their bylaws is a bit of a process for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so giving them the opportunity to go through their own legal counsel and to have a board conversation, since the whole board is just probably learning about this one piece, I think that gives us less confusion if we were to hold back by a little bit of time to allow for a conversation.
I think the thing too, like Jamie stated, is that it's still, like you said, you thought this would be one of the easiest components because somebody that is going to champion our mission and what we're doing back to council, but it still is unclear who does this person provide that information to, because if they're not giving an annual report to council or quarterly updates to the mayor's office, again, what's the point? Like, I understand what you're saying about champion everything that's going on with CHS and the contract, but when it is not clearly defined in this contract of who this person's going to share that information with, it seems a little pointless to put it in there unless that's defined.
And one thing I would clarify is, I feel like you're operating under the assumption that we're afraid to have somebody come to the board meeting because they are going to find something. I'm absolutely confident that you can put any city person on our board you want, and they are going to be a champion for CHS. But I'm more interested in us all spending time and energy doing something that's actually propelling these organizations forward, not just checking a box and sticking somebody on a board and thinking we all did our due diligence. Like, if we're going to do something that's going to be good for the city and good for us and good for you as a council, then let's come up with something that's actually going to get us there.
Right, and I do think that this helps with transparency and accountability and building a stronger relationship between the Humane Society and the city of Lincoln.
And I'd agree. I mean, this is a big chunk of money. This is a large increase, too. I think we have that duty to taxpayers out there to provide some additional due diligence, to provide some additional eyes on there. I think that's only reasonable and perfectly responsible. I think having a board member is a good way to go about it. Now, maybe there's some minor details we need to figure out walking through that. Maybe this isn't fully baked quite yet, too. I think that's fine, too. But to say we shouldn't have a board member on, or I have a tough time with that.
Chair Carlson, if I may.
Yeah, Councilman.
The Capital Humane Society is simply a vendor of the city of Lincoln, like dozens of 501c3s. What's different here?
I'd say they're more a partner. We're providing a quarter of their budget. I'd say it's almost a partnership rather than a, and I don't have a exact comparison, but it's 25% of their budget is
Do you
coming
think
from
that
city
every
resources.
nonprofit in the city of Lincoln that receives at least 25% of their budget should have a board member appointed by the city of Lincoln? I think
No.
that there is a.
No, I
think
don't
that
see that.
I think that there is a fundamental distinction here of independence.
Okay.
But
Sorry to interrupt you.
As I look at it here, we're what, doubling or tripling the amount of this contract here.
We
I
can
think
simply
I
not
think
accept the contract.
Exactly, and maybe that's a route, an option that we could take, and I know we explored that too. And I'm supportive of this too, but I think some of these details, I think it makes sense to have a board member on their board.
one thing that I have served on boards in the past where there has been kind of a joint committee between folks from the city and folks from the organization, which met on some other periodic basis that could provide all of the metrics that everybody's looking for and whatnot too. So there might be some sort of a joint something or other that could be created to be able to get, some of that reporting back that I think you're looking for as well. So that might be something to be explored if this avenue doesn't work out.
I have a question about the reporting.
Point of order, Mr. Beckius was asking questions, and we
Okay.
kind of drifted away from that. Sure.
All right, I'll let Mr.
Councilman.
Beckius move forward.
Thank you, Councilman Shob. I'll actually stop my line of questioning at this point. Thank you. I'll open it up.
I just wanted to point out that there are several boards that the city has members on that are part of nonprofits. You're not always voting on them, but Lincoln Little's is an example. The United Way is an example. We give money to a number of nonprofits where we have some sort of representation. I would say the model there is we appoint that person. We think they should become part of the board. And what we're looking for is qualifications up front that assure us that their membership there is improving the issue we want to see improved. That's typically the way that's worked and why we kind of talked about this being a person that would fit into the board as opposed to be an oversight member of the board. Thank you.
So the administration's in favor of this?
I'm not saying the administration is taking a stand on that particular piece as much as we don't think this is an issue that would be a problem to add to the contract.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilwoman Washington, did you have a question?
Thank you, Council Chair. My question about the reporting was, in the reports that there are reports that are moving between Health Department and Capital Humane Society. How often are those reports? And if the additional information metrics were added to the contract, how often would you add those into your reporting to Health Department?
To look at what the language was on those. Because like right now, the fees collected for the city that we remit with a check, that's weekly. We give them a report of pets surrendered in those same packets. Same thing with pets adopted. So those are primarily weekly reports.
Okay.
But I don't remember what.
It would be quarterly.
Section E.
Mm-hmm.
Section E
11,
quarterly.
12, 13, 14,
Yeah.
quarterly. Okay.
Which it's a significant amount of data, but it's a quarterly basis, and I've had a staff member already looking into the amount of time and energy that will be needed to compile these. So, and I think it's reasonable at this point. Now we'll see once we actually start doing this more in depth, but yeah.
Okay, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep. Anything else?
Other questions?
Where are we?
Voting on an amendment.
Voting on the amendment.
We have a motion on the table, correct?
Chair Carlson?
Yes.
I just want to I'm assuming people are done with questions and we've moved on to comments?
Certainly.
Okay. I will be voting against the amendment for a few reasons. I'm not, as you probably understand, comfortable with the City of Lincoln requiring a vendor to place a city-appointed director on their board, simply because they hold a contract with the city of Lincoln. Additionally, I am concerned with item 4C3 in regards to the pet licensing fee, stating that the Capital Humane Society's sheltering fee must be, that the bill shall state that. It seems needlessly punitive. The city of Lincoln, this council, could make up for the increase in fee. We're choosing with this amendment to not do so, and we are choosing to increase the pet licensing fee and use someone's name to do it. And that seems, in my eyes, to be punitive and unnecessary. I'm fine with raising the fee. I don't know that we have to state that it's the Capital Humane Society's sheltering fee, when the fact is the city of Lincoln could burden the increased cost with no fee increase at all. This is on us as well. Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Councilwoman Washington.
I realize that motions need to go in order, and I casually threw out a motion to delay as an option for the board to look at these amendments, run them through their own legal counsel, and so we could come back together. I don't expect to have the ability to get that motion to delay across, because I think if we're going to vote right now, that vote will tell us whether or not I get to offer a second motion. But I would, I just, sometimes I think a little bit of space makes it a little bit easier for us to have done all the work we need to do, cross Ts and Is on both sides.
Councilman Shoop.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to ask Mr. Hoppy a question, if he would yield.
Mr. Hoppy.
Thank you for choosing me, Counselor.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Big Dog. Hypothetically, Big H, hypothetically, we approve all this and vote yes on everything, and the Capital Humane Society's board reviews it, and they said, you know what, we're not okay with this, we're not going to sign it. Where would that put us?
Back at the negotiating table, and in my mind, you're not starting from square where you're at, you're moving all the way back. I just really feel like continued negotiations is probably not where we want to be. This has been long and unforgiving in many ways. There's a lot of personalities involved, a lot of people who feel strongly about it. We're on the cusp of having this done. This does not seem like a major issue to delay this over.
Okay, follow-up question. So hypothetically still, we've passed this. The amendment passes, we as a body pass the entire thing. Can we come back and undo some of it later? How hard is that? Is that more of a question for legal? Can we amend this contract?
Can we amend the contract? I would assume we can amend the contract, but I feel like this is much more in your purview than mine.
Amending the contract would go through a similar process of negotiation and the parties coming together to amend the contract. But I think we have language in there that outlines certainly the clause for termination, and then if there's going to be any, if it's not going to be a termination, if the parties want to negotiate, it usually has language in there about amendments can be agreed to by the parties.
Almost back to square one.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
I don't have it in front of me, but I'm certain that that's
An amendment is not.
I'm certain that that's what it would say. Yes.
Yes, you can. Or
Right. Written agreement by the party. Right.
Back to
Yeah.
square.
So the parties can come together for an amendment. Yep. Thank you.
Doesn't contract modification, the resulting agreement shall be modified only by the written agreement and approval of the parties through an amendment? So we can amend.
No, maybe I wasn't clear. That's what I was trying to say. And maybe, yeah, I was saying that it could be amended by agreement of the parties. Yes. Mhm.
Other questions?
Not for me. Thank you. I'm very good. Thank you, Mr. Hoppy. Thank you, Mr. Christie. Thank you, everybody. God bless us, everyone.
Any other discussions?
I just want to say, Rick, you bring up a good point about United Way and Lincoln Littles. Thanks for bringing that up.
Other discussion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and call the roll, and this will be on the amendment.
On the amendment.
Amendment, thank you.
Washington,
Yes.
Schob.
Yes.
I'm sorry, could you repeat?
I'm sorry, I said yes.
Thank you. Duden,
Yes.
Beckius,
No.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried, 5-1. Call the vote on the main motion. Washington,
Yes.
Was there a discussion portion of that? I wanted to do a little speech. Did we
We'll
already do
have
that?
discussion on the main motion then, too?
Now my turn?
Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We've sat here for quite a while today, and this has been a little bit messy, a little bit emotional, a little bit nasty. And I'm worried that we're losing sight of the ultimate goal here. The Capital Humane Society has done a service to our community for many years. And for the last few years, they've done it at a deficit. This is a step toward fixing that, to getting them the money they need to continue to provide a service for the community. I think we're getting really close. I think there might be some things we need to correct with amendments or further discussion or something, but I also think this is a 4-year contract, which gives us some predictability and some certainty that we won't be doing this every 3 or 4 or 6 months, or a 1-year contract or something like that. I will be supporting continuing our relationship with the Capital Humane Society by voting yes on this motion. And I will be thankful that they're here for us, too.
You're here.
Any other discussion?
I will just piggyback on Councilman Schob. The Capital Humane Society has been a valued partner in the city of Lincoln for decades, and I fully anticipate that the good work of the Capital Humane Society will continue, regardless of whether or not we have an amendment to the existing contract. I have full faith in the organization moving forward. I have full faith in the organization that it will do right by the city of Lincoln as it has for decades. I've received, in my 4.5 years of being a city councilman, 0 complaints about the work of the Capital Humane Society. I don't think that we need to interject ourselves within the good work that you already do. And I just want to thank you as a vendor of our city. I know that this has been a really hard process for the last 2.5 years. I want to thank you for being a continued vendor for the city of Lincoln. We appreciate it. You do a lot of good work. Thank you.
Other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Washington,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried, 6-0. Okay. That concludes section 5 of our agenda. We shall move on to section 6, public hearing ordinances, second reading and related resolutions. I'll call item 6A, change of zone 25015, application of U.S. property to change the zoning designation from AGR Agriculture Residential to O3 Office Park District on approximately 2.7 acres on property generally located in the southeast corner of Nebraska Parkway and Pine Lake Road.
All right, do we have someone here? All right. Welcome.
David Clausen, 129 North 10th Street in Lincoln.
Takes a while. It's cooking.
There he goes.
So, if you can imagine, we have Pemberley Place Pemberley Place, UStop, Nebraska Pain Clinic. So this is this triangular piece just to the east of the pain clinic. It's been zoned AG for a long time, and it's due and probably overdue for development. And so we'd like to rezone it to O3 to allow for some light commercial development. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. Or not.
Council, any questions?
This is just a public hearing for this, correct?
I don't have
Before
questions.
I tell you.
Yes. Just public hearing.
Correct.
No questions.
Correct. No questions. All right. Any members of the public like to comment on this? If so, please come forward. Seeing none, we can go and proceed.
I'll call items 6B and 6C together. Item 6B and C is change of zone 25012, application of Philip Romberg and Rochelle Mallet to change the zoning designation from R2 Residential District to R2 Landmark with historic overlay on the property generally located at 1821 South Pershing Road. And the related special permit 25027, application of Philip Romberg and Rochelle Mallet for a special permit for historic preservation to allow a garage within the required front yard with associated waiver on property generally located at 1821 South Pershing Road.
Welcome.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. My name is Rochelle Mallet. I live at 1821 South Pershing, and I'm here today on those two items essentially to rebuild an existing detached garage that was rotting and falling down as they often tend to do in our older neighborhoods. My home was built in 1937, and so the original garage was in tough condition. So the city has been fabulous as we've been working with them since spring to figure out the best way to do this, given the historic nature of our neighborhood, and also the fact that I live on a double frontage property. So rebuilding the garage in the existing location was not within the current zoning restrictions, but to build it in the current zoning restrictions would really ruin the historic nature of the property. So it's been great working with the city. Jill has been just an absolute amazing steward as we work through the best way to proceed. And so that's why we're here today.
Jill?
Hi.
Hello.
I'm Jill Dahlberg. I'm the Historic Preservation Planner with the Planning Department. 555 South 10th Street. We want to talk to you about the change of zone for the historic landmark overlay for this property. The house is located within Woodshire neighborhood, which is a National Register historic district, which doesn't really help with it getting a special permit. So we need to have a local landmark. I'm kind of it's been a long afternoon for us too. I apologize. All right. Anyway, so this house is the Henry H. and Emma Foster house. It's a limestone veneer colonial revival style house that's located on South Pershing, which is the kind of the southernmost part of that neighborhood. And so its back lot line is really Calvert. Mm-hmm. Which gives it that dual frontage situation that we talked about. The house was designed by Lincoln architect Nathan Bruce Hazen, who was a prolific designer of over 500 houses in Lincoln, and 10 of them were also in that neighborhood. Henry Foster was hired as a law professor at the College of Law in 1920 and was made dean of the college in 1926. I have so many things I want to tell you about him, but I will refrain and just tell you that he was an expert in property law and real estate law and helped bring about many modern changes to property law, both through legislation, with his work with the legislature, and legal proceedings in the Supreme Court, Nebraska Supreme Court. He was beloved of his students, and they remembered him long after leaving college and maintained correspondence with him. He retired in 1945, at which point they sold the house to the next owner, and then he passed away 2 years later. The house is significant under the areas of architecture, education, and law. So then, of course, we will also be asking, presuming that the change of zone is granted, that they be granted a special permit for historic preservation for the property. Because of that dual frontage situation, Accessory buildings can't be built on a front yard, and they're both front yards, sort of, so to speak.
Yeah.
But in actuality, the permit will just allow them to build the garage largely in the exact same spot that the one that pre-existed was in. So nothing's really going to change. Both the Historic Preservation Commission and the Planning Commission have heard these documents and have approved of them unanimously. We've gotten a few phone calls and emails from the public, mostly interested in whether or not we're going to allow them to have a driveway out into Calvert, and we're not even asking for that. No. So that was really the only concern I received. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Council, any questions?
I don't have a question. I had 2 questions written down, and you've answered both of them.
Just want to thank you for your continued investment in Lincoln's historic neighborhoods. We really appreciate it, and it's through the acts of homeowners like yourself that these structures still be able to maintain life while moving into a new century of actually being able to use a house the way that modern people do. So thank you very much.
Absolutely.
We appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Any other questions? All
Thank
right,
you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your
Thanks.
time. Thanks.
Any members of the public here to comment on this? If so, please come forward now. Seeing none, we can go ahead and proceed.
Okay. That concludes section 6 of our agenda. We'll move on to section 7, ordinances, third reading and related resolutions. I'll call item 7A. Item 7A is amending the pay schedule for employee group whose classification is assigned to the pay range which is prefixed by the letter A by changing the pay range for class 3662 public health nurse A11 to A13. Introduced by Duden.
So move.
Second.
Second by Beckius. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Bowers?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 7B is amending the pay schedule for the employee group whose classifications are assigned to the pay range prefixed by the letter A by deleting the classification for public health nurse 1. Introduced by Duden.
So moved.
Second?
Second, Washington. Discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bowers?
Yes.
Washington?
Yes.
Schob?
Yes.
Duden?
Yes.
Beckius?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 7C is Comprehensive Plan Conformance 25006, application of the City of Lincoln Urban Development Department to review as to conformance with the 2050 Lincoln-Lancaster Comprehensive Plan, an amendment to the Lincoln Center Redevelopment Plan, Antelope Valley Redevelopment Plan, and the North 27th Street Corridor, and Environs Redevelopment Plan to amend the Greater Downtown Principal Corridors Revitalization Project, to extend the length of the TIF period from 15 to 20 years, to increase the estimated amount of TIF available to complete the project, and to update the cost-benefit analysis with an overall project boundary including publicly and privately owned property roughly bounded by 9th to 28th Streets between north side of P and south side of N, and 9th and 10th Streets from south side of K to north side of S Streets, generally located at N to P Streets from 9th to 28th and 9th to 10th Streets from K to S Streets. Introduced by Duden.
So moved.
Second?
Second by Washington. Discussion?
Yes, I just have one item.
Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this is a great project. I am thrilled that we are going to revitalize O Street corridor. I only ask that in doing that we pay close attention to the needs of the business community, especially those business owners along O Street. They've gone through a heck of a lot since COVID, and I really want to make certain that they remain vibrant and active throughout this entire construction period, which is needed. But let's just do everything we can to make certain everyone knows that O Street is still open for business.
Thank you. Other discussion? Councilman Beckius.
Thank you, Chair Carlson. I concur with Councilwoman Washington. Maybe even better yet, if you want, maybe we can go down for periodic lunches and check out progress on O Street.
Let's have lunch on O Street.
As that
Yeah.
happens. Just want to take a quick moment to thank the numerous folks and city staff that has worked so hard and so diligently to get us to where we are today to approve this. Obviously, thank you to members of the urban development team, City of Lincoln Planning, Parks, Mayor's Office, a whole host of folks. Thank you for the work that you've done in order to get this plan together so that we can say yes to it and envision a new Lincoln, a new downtown Lincoln for the next several decades. Thank you, Chair.
Great. Other discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 7D is authorizing the issuance of tax allocation bonds for the Greater Downtown Principal Corridors Revitalization Project in amount not to exceed $31.2 million. Introduced by Duden.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Beckius. Discussion. Please call the roll.
Bowers,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. Item 7E is amending the fiscal year 24-25 CIP to authorize and appropriate an additional $29 million in TIF funds for the Downtown Corridors project, generally located between 9th and 28th Streets from P and N Streets, as well as between 9th Street and 10th Street from K to S Streets, including adjacent alleys and right-of-ways in Greater Downtown Lincoln. Introduced by Duden.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Beckius. Discussion. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bowers,
Yes.
Washington,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0. That concludes section 7 of our agenda. Section 8 is resolutions first readings, items 8A and 8B. Section 9 is our ordinances first reading and related resolutions, items 9A through 9C. Pending list is section 10, items 10A through 10C.
All right, tonight is public comment. Anyone wishing to address the council on a matter not on this agenda and not planned to appear on a future agenda may do so at this open microphone session. Individuals are allowed a total of 5 minutes to speak, regardless of the number of topics. For the month of August, open microphone sessions will be held tonight, August 11th and August 25th, 2025. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Pat Shears. There is a tree that I've mentioned to the city, that I've mentioned to the one up on A Street that's got a split tree. It's down lower, it's all together, but as you go up like towards the branches, it's split and it's top heavy. It's lucky that it didn't go this last time over and hit a house or fall the other way and hit somebody as you walk. It's on A Street, well, between 13th and A and 13th and B on the west side of the street. It's the second tree in. And I did say something last year about it, but it's still standing there, and I'm just wondering when something's actually going to happen with it. But that's all I have to say.
Right, thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to address council? If so, please come forward now.
That's me.
All right, welcome.
Oh, good morning.
Yeah, and you can go to either side here, but there's no microphone in the middle, so
Hey,
there
guys.
you go. Welcome.
And thanks, guys, council. Thanks for giving all of us residents a platform to share our thoughts. As you know, I came here once before about my gate. So it's a gate issue. My fence gate issue. Let me just start with this image, if I can find it.
Sir?
Oh yeah, my name is Jose Miller, address 4601 Huntington Avenue, right in behind Layton District Apartments. This, if you guessed, is a hollow tree. You are correct. I'm not sure if you
It's a what?
It's a hollow tree. It's hollowed out tree. I don't know. Maybe that's a better view. Do you see that at all? Maybe that's too bright.
We can see it. Yep.
Can? Right.
Okay.
There. So last year, I'm going to be doing this a little bit, over a year ago, one of the city-owned trees fell on my house. I couldn't file a claim against the city because there was no documentation of that tree. I think Megan did a good job of explaining like we need to know for us to be liable. So Parks and Recs did eventually come out about 1.5 years ago and deemed a lot of about 3 of those trees on the other side of my property line as like they're dead. We need to get, they marked them. If you guys can see, that's just one of I'm not sure if you guys can see, but there are pink
Yep.
pink numbers. That's one, and the one that fell also has pink numbers. That specific tree that fell obliterated my tool shed with all my equipment inside, and it was such a large tree that it completely shattered that back fence that I was working on applying for a claim previously, but now it's completely destroyed, like really like destroyed. So I'm going to reapply, completely get a completely new quote, because now I'm going to need to do the whole fence because of that. But I'm just here to say, to kind of let myself known that that will be, that will be in the works. And I just spoke to Megan, and that should be in the books that they've documented, knowing that was. So there should be no reason for the city to decline paying for.
Yeah,
Oh.
future item on the agenda. So, yeah, if you like, I can talk to you afterwards here too, and just make sure it's clear on how to file that claim and make sure you're moving forward with that process. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right.
I'm done.
Thank you.
For making
Appreciate
the
it.
contribution of your evening.
Oh. All right. Is there anyone else who'd like to address council? If so, please come forward.
Any subject?
On any subject that's not on the agenda. Too, so, okay.
You don't want it on the agenda. You don't want me right now.
Uh-oh.
I'll warn you.
Yeah.
Barb Holder Poppy. I reside on Northwest 16th. And I am a church member and I am a volunteer in several organizations. I have come up to an organization that I am hitting a brick wall and I need help from the council to try and deal with it. I have been in food service for almost 50 years. I have come against someone that has refused to listen to board members, has refused to listen to other people in food service, like people who have owned restaurants like me, people who have worked in restaurants like me, Wendy's, McDonald's, Burger King. I mean, I've done fast food, but I've done steakhouses, Litchfield Steakhouse. I have done steakhouses as in Golden Corral. I have done Texas T-Bone. I have not been able to do Texas Roadhouse yet, but I'm getting there. I came up against a person that doesn't want to listen to anybody that's been in food service long enough to say, you have to wear gloves, you cannot cross-contaminate anything, and the comeback to me is, well, we're not governed by anybody. FoodNet is not answering to anyone. They have a board. Some of the people that work in some of their locations are doing the right thing. Thank God. But we have one that I am consistently coming up negative to because she'll pick up something and she will not get it cooled down, refrigerated, and taken care of properly when she receives it, like from a nursing home like Tabitha or Legacy or something along that line, where there's food in a container that's like 6 inches wide, 18 inches long, and it's like hot green beans, or it's a taco salad, or it's a soup, or this last time it was a Jell-O, and the Jell-O melted because she put it in with 3 hot things, 2 bottles of water that were frozen, and she got it on Wednesday or Thursday, and she did not add anything cooler. She did not take it out of the carrier she had it in. She did not refrigerate it. She did not open it until ready to, quote, serve it on Sunday. Started at 11:30. She picked a piece of the green bean because we told her it was slimy. We weren't going to serve them. She took a piece of it, she put it in her mouth, tasted it. She says, tastes okay to me. And then put the rest of the green bean back in the container and expected us to serve it. We threw it away, and then we got consequences. I need somebody to help me get and keep the food service quality on second place servings. So like if it's a steak that is not served or chicken that is not served at like KFC, or a hamburger that it's the meat, but not necessarily, I mean, taco meat, but not necessarily a simple sandwich. But that second serving, somebody needs to oversee what's going on. Food Bank has told this person to leave. Food Net has moved her several times, and now she has gone to a separate location and opened a new Food Net, but she is not meeting quality control. She may be certified to serve people, but she is not certified to serve food. And that means like an RN, a PA, something like that, where it is a person education. This one is a food service, and this is not within her range of qualification. And she is going to kill somebody from what I have seen. And I finally, in October, refused to go back to that kitchen and work under her supervision because it was not where it needed to be. I do not want my name associated with killing somebody. I need some help, you guys. Please. I've called the Ag Department. I've called USDA. I have called all other places. Ag Service is actually checking on it, but they work Monday through Friday, and this gal is serving on Sunday, and I am scared that it's going to actually affect somebody else. She is not training people right. She is not doing things right. And I don't know what else to do with it when other people have moved her around and she's not doing.
5 minutes if you want to wrap up then.
She's not doing it. And I need somebody to do something. Is there a way that you can enact some place where they either have to get food service qualifications, like for managers? Second servings, it's got to be better than this.
We'll have you go ahead and wrap up. Thank you. That is the time limit.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you. Thanks. All right. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to comment? If so, please come forward now.
Seeing no one else coming forward, Chair, I would move we adjourn.
I second it.
Motion's been made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.